You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Go 2. Hit in the air. Deep left field. Torres back. George Lombard Jr. has entered the yard and left it.
High fly ball. Deep right field. Take a good look. You won't see it for long. Mickey Moore on cue. It's tied the game.
There it goes. Deep to right field. Welcome to the Rays, Liam Hicks, a grand slam, and it's 5-1 Rays.
And Bench flies one to center field. That's well hit. Quan going back, looking at the wall, and it's out of here. Carson Bench with a long home run over the 19-foot fence just to the left of center field.
There's a high deep drive. That's way back, and that's gone. Wilyer Abreu at number 18. The Red Sox take a 7-1 lead.
Good morning. Welcome in. Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mail Medical. I'm Ravi Lulla. I've got Avarie Howard here with me this morning. Avarie, how we doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear you?
Yeah.
That's important.
I can now.
I walked in this morning and I see a notepad here with a lot of notes on it. And I kind of just wanted to be like, Avarie, we're not that kind of show.
Here's the thing. I wrote all these down yesterday as we were listening to press conferences.
Okay. So you didn't do this for us?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I was very concerned.
No, I wrote these down during press conferences, but then I realized that I'd finished the other players in my notes. So I had two different places of where my thoughts from all the players we heard from yesterday existed. So I just needed to have these in front of me when we get to that conversation, because we heard from half the team yesterday.
I was going to say, it was extensive.
Yeah, it was extensive, which it was great because this was the first, last year, I think fall camp kicked off with us being at practice for a few minutes, and then we heard from Rule, and then we heard from players. This year is just before fall camp. We got, I think it was 12 players.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fire hose of just player information.
Yeah, so it was a little bit different, but appreciated it. It was nice to have both sides of the ball represented, and then you had TJ and Anthony, and they talked.
I mean, a lot of those guys went for like 20 minutes.
They did.
Like, it was a lot.
They gave them like 25-minute periods before they switched. So it was like four players on defense, and then when that 25 minutes was up, we got 4 players on offense. So yeah, it was actually really nice.
It sort of felt like a media day, like
in a sense,
as instead of just like, hey, here's our regular fall media availability. It sort of felt like, hey, and Rule sort of talked about this earlier in the season about different media opportunities for players and stuff like that, and trying to get them prepared for their futures beyond that, but also just saying like, hey, like these are the guys you want to talk to. Like here's access to them in a way that you haven't really had before.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool. I mean, I listened to all of them. It took, I had to listen on like 1.5 speed. Like I gotta get through those things, man. But it was there was a lot in there.
There was a lot in there. I would agree.
We'll get to that. I do have a question though before we get to too sportsy here. Have you seen the Wolverine Deadpool movie? Okay. Because I do this thing where I like to call Rico D2 DB.
Okay.
And so what is it, Rico? Am I wrong?
No, it still hurts.
Listen, it's better than me. I'm like NAI DB.
I wouldn't call you any DB.
It's just whoever sits in the chair. So I was trying to figure out if I should call you soccer DB but I was trying to figure out which version of DB that you are. Because there's like, in the movie, there's like 800 different Deadpools. So I'm trying to figure out which DB Avarie is. I haven't decided yet.
Figure it out by the end of the show.
Ooh, KCDB. That's a good one. I like that one. We might go with KCDB.
I like it.
We'll test that one out, see how we get. Avarie, it's been like 2 years since we've done a show together, like a full show together outside of CWS. How are you doing? How have you been? I feel like people haven't seen you much.
Yeah, hi world. We're re-entering society now that football is starting, so.
Yeah, there's like a month and a half where I just don't see half the office. It's like CWS and then nothing, and then Pinnacle Bank and fall camp open up usually the same week, and it's like, oh, I have coworkers again.
Well, this was like the first time post College World Series that we like actually got a designated like week and a half, almost 2 weeks off, which much needed because that's when the sports calendar ends, and looking at your phone after the College World Series feels like a chore.
Yes.
Like I can't fathom thoughts. So it was nice to have 2 weeks, I think, where all of us were able to turn our brains off for a little bit. I literally got paranoid every time I'd open my phone. I'm like, I don't have a Teams message. What am I missing? Nothing. So that was nice. But then, yeah, once we creep back into the start of Big Ten Media Days, things just start to ramp up very quickly. And now we've got Pinnacle Bank starting tomorrow. So fall camps obviously starting today. I think they have first day. So
Yeah.
fan day is on Saturday. Coach Rule speaks on Saturday. It just begins. But it's been kind of nice to kind of just lay low and just be chill for a little bit.
I do always feel like during our little summer break, whenever it is, there's like a part of me that's like, am I skipping school right now? Like,
Yes.
I feel like I'm going to look at my phone and be like, hey, Ravi, you haven't answered a Teams message in 6 days. You're fired,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
You don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, they told me I was off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of like paranoid existential crisis there.
Yeah.
But so are you going to be, I know you're going to be at Pinnacle for most of it.
Yeah.
Are you going down to Fan Day on Saturday instead?
I am not. Rico is helping.
Rico, are you our Fan Day guy?
He's the big.
Yeah, I get to do a bunch of.
A bunch of what?
I get to do a bunch of fun things.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Rico.
sound excited about it.
Well, I am excited. I get to do football, and then next weekend I get to do volleyball.
You're
Yeah.
like, I get to do a bunch of fun things.
Are you guys going?
It's gonna be great. I don't know. I didn't sound like that.
Yeah, you a little bit. You sounded a little.
I get to go. Yeah,
I get to
I'll
do
be-
fun things.
I'll be there.
I get to do fun things.
It's
I'm
fine.
Rico.
It's fine.
I get to go from that to a pool party.
Ooh.
On Saturday.
Yeah,
Well, the rest of us
as
are
long as
working.
the weather holds up.
We're
Avery, the chat is wondering if they can be respectful.
Yeah. Wait. As in, like, are like sarcastically, like, are like the usual comments? Like, I see the comments every day.
Yeah, they're usually unhinged, so they're just checking.
Yeah, guys, go ahead. It's fine.
They can be disrespectful, or they have to. They have to be
Usually
respectful.
do. Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to change. I mean, I see.
There
that
we go.
every day.
Perfect.
I was gonna say Avery is actually the only person I think, besides Sasha in this office, who consumes the show willingly and not as a part of their job.
That is true.
fair.
Speaking of consuming the show willingly, I have a question for you, Avery.
Okay.
Name a black guy.
Whoa.
You're coming in hot, Rico. What are we doing, man?
It's just a simple question.
I feel like whenever I go with my answer, like, is this being used against me? Like, is this a
No, it's
setup?
not. No, it's not.
He's just being weird. He's just being Rico.
I mean, are you asking? You're actually me answer?
Sure.
No, I'm not answering. I'm not answering.
That's the correct answer.
Okay, I can see you guys conspiring.
I'm
on
not
answer.
conspiring. Rico is just being. He's trying to make it.
I'm just trying to keep the show on the rails.
Well, you're on the show's rails, not on like normal.
Exactly. No, not actual rails. They're like imaginary.
I told you, Avery's not gonna be racist while she's here. That's an us thing. That's all.
That's part. Don't you have to be if you're sitting in the chair?
No, you guys just choose to be anyway.
Yeah.
That's not a requirement.
There are times when, like, I'm getting ready for the day and I just usually have it open because usually if you guys are having a football discussion
Yeah.
of something or a guest on, I like to listen. And then there's times when the conversation goes a certain way and my roommate's also getting ready and I have to preface, hey, I'm like, hey,
If you hear something completely out of pocket, it's not me, I swear.
the good thing is she knows Damon because of work, so she there's times where she'll laugh, but she'll literally, what are they talking about?
Yeah, I said this to DB, I think yesterday. I was like, if somebody just like got dropped into
Yeah.
listening to our show for the first time,
Yeah.
they would be so confused and probably concerned.
I would say so.
They'd be like, what is happening
Yeah,
right
concerned
now?
is the right word. Yeah, yeah, I do have to preface, but yeah, sorry, you might not get all that content.
No,
from me
it's
today.
it's okay. That's not part of the deal. Rico's just being mean.
I'm not being mean.
Don't set people up, Rico. That's not very nice.
It's not a setup.
I don't like that I can only see like 2/3 of your face.
I'm
honestly
short,
from my
short.
angle.
It's much better than seeing his whole face. That's 100% accurate.
The lack of jokes we can make is ridiculous.
Austin, you can make whatever jokes you want. You just can't set Avarie up to make jokes that she doesn't want to make.
But she's doing the DB thing where it's so easy to set her up for one. Like, why can she only see 2/3 of Rico? That's so wild.
Oh, okay.
Listen,
I was only going to say that I can only see what his eyes are doing, but we don't need to do that.
at least she didn't say 3/5. I mean, come on. It's fine.
Whoa.
No, you guys can make jokes. You just can't put Avarie in a corner, all right? Just be nice. It's okay. It'll be fine. I will say it's a good thing and you can lay out on this if you want, Avarie. It's a good thing that the Dylan thing didn't drop today, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't have a great night. I did not have a good night. Your boys on the struggle bus this morning. So, like, if the Dylan thing had dropped today, it might have been worse than it was yesterday.
You had a struggle bus night because of the Dylan thing?
No. We'll show you here. This was. So that right there.
Oh, I see.
Is bad.
Yeah, that looks not great.
It's not great here either, but I was asleep here, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
My dog had to wake my wife up, who then had to wake me up to be like, hey, eat something so you don't die. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
I don't know if we can zoom in. No, we can't see that on the graph there. It was a little rough. Yeah, so if it was on sleep deprivation mode, the Dylan rant might have been worse. I'm just going to be honest with you. So that's a little saving grace here.
I understand. Yeah.
A little saving grace.
And you
worse,
were
like more yelling, or
that's what I was gonna say. You were in a fully good state yesterday during the rant.
Oh yeah, that was just normal.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well rested, Ravi.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is I'm pulling into Lincoln yesterday, and Rico sends. I wasn't listening, and so Rico sends a copy for that clip. Yeah. And all I see is the first 4 letters is like Dylan Raiola says, and I literally said, "Oh no," is what I think. I think that's what I responded back. I said, "Oh no," and then he sent the clip or the screenshot that you guys were talking about or whatever it was, I think, and I said, "What did Ravi say?" And then I said to my before he even responded, I said, "And was DB laughing the whole time?"
DB was hiding the whole time.
He was hiding the whole time, but was.
You said, was Ravi
Ravi
nice? I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, I didn't mean that seriously. I was 100% knew. Yeah.
Avery and I talk enough. She knows that the chances of me being nice in that situation are pretty much not. No, but DB going like this, as soon as I start, he just goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the classic DB hide behind his computer there. I actually didn't notice he did that until I saw the clip, and I was like, "Oh, he was hiding." Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I know him and Dom are boys. It's fine. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
I had more thoughts on it as I was thinking about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Than you did in that moment.
About why it was bothering me.
Did you go and watch the clip by chance?
I did go back and watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I don't feel like I was out of line on anything.
Okay.
I feel okay about everything I said.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
No, I think one of the things that bothered me was all right, I understand we have corn here, whatever.
Yeah.
They're called the Corn Huskers. I get it, right? I think it's super disingenuous to be like, well, there's cornfields everywhere when you lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, right? Part of what bothers me about this, and feel free to say as much or as little as you're comfortable with, because I know you have a much different job than I do.
Yeah.
You're a reporter and you're near the team. So I understand that. I don't want to put you in a weird spot here. But part of what bothered me about it is a lot of the Dylan experience, especially after we sort of were able to step back and see, the forest through the trees, was A, lot of that felt pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff was that's kind of strange behavior. And B, a lot of it felt pretty phony.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the alarm bell started going off in my head when I read that quote about it. Just felt like he was sort of being sort of patronizing to saying whatever he thought the reporter wanted to hear.
Yeah.
About oh, Oregon's beautiful. It's not like the last place I went. It's you listen, your dad went to school here. You'd been here a million times. You knew what Nebraska, like you knew Nebraska didn't have mountains when you committed, man. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
It's not like it was some surprise to you where, like, you know, some of these European basketball players that commit to schools have never been there and don't know where Nebraska is. Like, famously, they're just like, I get this much money to come play basketball in the U.S., done.
There's people from Texas that don't know
Yeah,
where
100%.
Nebraska
Yeah, Florida.
is.
Like, if it was like Ja'Cory Barney was like, I'll be honest, man, I didn't know. I'd be like,
Yeah,
fair.
sure.
You know
Yeah.
what? Fair. But Dylan has like a very familiar relationship with this state.
Yeah.
Knows the scenery, lack thereof, however you want to put it. And it's just like, there was no mountains in Nebraska. Well, no shit, Dylan. Like, come on, man. What are we talking about?
Right. When I went and watched it, because I wasn't sure if it was like a spoken to for like a written article.
Sure.
But I saw it on YouTube yesterday, actually, ironically enough, uploading our press conferences. And I wanted to see like what the tone of the conversation was. And at first, my first initial reaction was he trying to answer that way to avoid it being a conflict? I got to talk about the style of football, or I got to talk about the players. But then he did both anyway.
Then he did it anyway.
Then he did both anyway. So I thought it was interesting too. I will say the tone of it was, watching it, and I don't feel like it was this like planted seed of, I don't know, like I'm really wanting to speak about the last place. I think he, in the moment, it was just like, it truly, I don't know. It wasn't like an ill will kind of thing, but I know how it was going to be received. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was sitting there being like, I've been waiting to talk about this, or I've been waiting to get a get back comment. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I don't think he's wanted to talk about Nebraska at all, which 100%. Is, I think, why there was no message on social media, all that. Like, I think I agree with you. I don't think he at any point has wanted to talk about Nebraska, which again is.
Which I just didn't know because it was in written form. That it's not. I'm like, okay, how was this asked? How was it spoken or whatever? So when I watched, it was like, okay, whatever.
To me, it wasn't like, hey, I want to take a veiled shot so much. It was like, hey, this is phony.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I took it, you know? And then I will say, if you want to talk about a veiled shot, and I skipped this part yesterday because I was focused on the corn. Like, when he talked about the more talent, which, listen, they're number 2 team in the country. They're supposed to be more talented than Nebraska is right now. No, that's not a controversial statement. But he also threw the coaches in there, too. He says, we've got a lot more talent, the coaches and the players. And that part to me was like, okay.
Yeah, I think the quote was, coaches here are second to none, I think.
Yeah, and I think he referenced the coaches, I think, a couple times in that stretch there. And listen, some people love Dan Lanning. He also inherited a really good situation from Mario Cristobal. And when they had won double-digit games, I believe 3 out of the 4 years that Cristobal was there, like, he inherited a nice situation, and he's done well with it.
Yeah.
No argument there. But he's working with a first-time offensive coordinator that has never called plays before, to my knowledge. The guy that would have maybe been in that argument is somewhere else now, Will Stein at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Daniel Holgerson's one of the best offensive coordinators of the century. Like, I don't think that's controversial. Like, he's been as good at this as anyone. I can check with our guys at Matrix Analytical to get the actual numbers on it, but like, hard to argue that a first-time OC play caller is better than Dana Holgerson. That's an argument I'm going to have a tough time with. So to kind of take that shot as well is like, that's the part where I was like, there might be a little animosity there on his part. Clearly he hasn't wanted to talk about it, but felt that's the part where I felt like, all right, however you feel about Rule versus Lanning, like, hard to argue with the results so far at their current stops, okay? Not a problem there. But if you're arguing first-time OC play caller versus Dana Holgerson, like, you might need to pump the brakes a little bit there, bud. You have no idea if this guy can even do the job. No one does, right? We all know Dana Holgerson he's been doing this for 25 years. He's really good at it. That's just the fact of the matter. So where did that come from in my mind? Is sort of like, okay, are you just not happy about how your time went there?
Yeah.
And so you were trying to find a place to put that frustration. You're putting that on Dana Holgerson. You're putting it on maybe Glenn Thomas a little bit too, who again has a very, very good track record as a quarterbacks coach. Like, that's the part where I'm going, okay, what are you trying to get at there? Because that's the part where, like, listen, I get Oregon has mountains, Nebraska has corn. Sure, like, whatever. You knew what you were getting into, but here we are. Hard to argue the topography of the universities, right? But like you also had one of the best offensive coordinators we've seen in the last 25 years versus a guy that's literally never done this before.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to be, feels like there might be a little frustration there, Dylan. Just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see what I mean,
we probably won't with him.
I was going to say, with Dylan or without Dylan, we're going to see what the Oregon offense looks like pretty soon. So.
And again, I do find, like, I really don't know that we'll know anything about the offensive coordinator this year. Aside, if Dante Moore is who everybody thinks Dante Moore is, how much do we actually learn about the Oregon offensive coordinator this year, right? Like, almost nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're going to learn very much about the Ole Miss offensive coordinator this year either, like with Trinidad Chambliss. Especially that's the guy that's going to run around and make plays. We saw what he did against Georgia without Lane Kiffin. It's like, until we get past the Trinidad Chambliss thing, I have no idea what the Ole Miss offense is going to look like in a post-Lane Kiffin era.
Yeah.
No idea at all. And I think it's going to be the same thing with Oregon. So, I don't know. That's the part as I, like, went back and, like, listened to the quote, read the quote, and, like, listened to what I said about it yesterday. I was like, the coaches thing actually seems like the worst shot at Nebraska over there. And at least part of it is just kind of laughably untrue with the offensive coordinators. Like, I just don't even know how you come up with that.
Yeah. Like Oregon's offense could be good this year, but you're basically saying you're not going to know how much of it actually has his fingerprints on it until maybe Dante Moore isn't the guy.
Until Dante Moore isn't the guy.
Or isn't having the season people think he's going to have.
Yeah, it would be really – I think without a doubt you can say Will Stein, really great offensive coordinator, because Dante Moore struggled at UCLA as a true freshman. Everybody struggles as a true freshman, basically. Like, that's whatever, including Dylan,
or
right?
At UCLA.
Or, what's that?
Or at UCLA.
Yes, or at UCLA. Although Nico was okay. He's okay last year.
I think they'll be fine.
Like, he struggled at UCLA with a guy that people think is an offensive genius in Chip Kelly. Then he sat a year at Oregon, and then he played under Will Stein. Really easy to look at it and be like, hey, Will Stein did some really impressive stuff with Dante Moore. Now that Dante Moore has sort of reached that place, it's really hard to say, oh, well, now this offensive coordinator gets credit. Now, if it's really bad, we can maybe blame the offensive coordinator. That's easier to see. I just am having a really hard time looking at it and being able to differentiate between really high-level players that are just able to continue to execute on the system that Will Stein put in versus, hey, this guy in his own right really good at this. Yeah. And I think there's a few places throughout the country that kind of have that sort of dynamic where it's just you're probably not going to find out anything about that coach or a new coach in that spot until the current, like, next year, if Dylan Raiola is really, really good at Oregon under this OC, you'd be like, okay, yeah, this guy might have some juice. Like, that's totally on the table. We're not going to find out this year. Yeah. I don't think in any way, unless he sucks.
I do find it interesting that obviously Nebraska will travel to Oregon this year. And I don't think there'll be an added weird level of animosity if Dante's playing. Yeah. Even if Dylan was playing, I don't know if there'd be this, I don't know if animosity is the right word, right? Obviously it adds.
There's like an awkwardness, I think.
A little bit. The storylines write themselves. I do think it'll be interesting that if next year is the first year he is starting in Oregon, they do have to travel back to
here.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see what that looks like, what you're describing.
Yeah.
How things change from year 1 to year 2 at Oregon under new OC. I'm just curious. I'm just very interested. I think it's interesting that the year that they would have to come to Nebraska would potentially be his first year. At
this point, just for what it's worth, I would be kind of surprised if he starts at Oregon at any point. I don't know if he moves on. Like, it has a weird vibe to it. Like, just like this feels almost just like a pit stop to kind of reset things, and then maybe he goes and starts somewhere else next year. I have no idea. But I would be a little bit surprised if he starts at Oregon at any point. Yeah. For like a full-time thing. I mean, like a one-off as an injury or something if Dante Moore gets hurt. But let's set up the show real quick. Somebody says this lady is smart. There you go. Hey. Let's go. It's an easy. I've
only said like 10 words.
It's an early one for you. I like that. Coming up on the show today, we got Brian CHRISTOPHERSON, Husker 24/7. Kevin Suits from 1011 News in Lincoln. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk Washington football with Scott EKLUND from dogman.com as we continue on Nebraska's schedule this season and our previews of their opponents. We also are going to have, after the show, another little special. I know for the people that don't love Creighton basketball, yesterday wasn't their cup of tea, but we have a Nebraska volleyball preview show following the show today, right at 10 o'clock with Anna Bellinghausen and Jacob Padilla. They are a couple of our volleyball experts here on staff. So stick around after 10 o'clock if you want some Nebraska volleyball preview show as well. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi. We'll be right back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up right after this. Everyone's talking about peptides. You are doing it right. At NextGen Male Medical Clinic, peptide treatments are clinician guided, tailored to your goals, monitored for safety. Call today or visit nextgenmmc.com.
I admire Allison Widener so much.
Oh, just tell me about it.
The way she's come back year after year and just has dealt with this, and I mean, she could hang it up. No one would blame her if she decided to never play basketball again. What have you learned from her?
Oh, I've learned so much. I actually get chills when I think about her just because she's been such a great leader for me, and she attacks every single day. And whether or not that's rehab, whether or not she gets to, play a little bit of practice here and there, she just does it all with an attack mindset, and she gives it her all no matter what she's doing. And like I said, her leadership off the court is just, it's insane. And she treats all of us like we're her little kids. We call her grandma just because she's been here for a little while, but she just, she treats all of us like we're her own, and she leans into us whenever we're struggling and picks us up, hypes us up when we do something good. And so just really leans into us as people and finds ways to make those connections, and that obviously relationships build on the court. So
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, that's honestly been like a stress reliever for us as a program, because like we're not worried about the outside noise. We're just focused on us every single day. And when we come into this building, all we want to do is work. So, and we have a goal at the end of the day is to make the college football playoffs and win it too. So like when we come in here, we just we have like a mindset of just what's our goal and what's our why.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. That was Isaiah Hunter, one of the many, many football players we talked to yesterday. I did think it was funny, real quick, before we get to some of the some of the guys that spoke yesterday. So I told, I think, everyone involved with the show except Shane that you were hosting today. And
Slightly important detail.
I just realized that as he was like, I didn't even know she was here today. I was wondering why I got the door for her.
Me and Shane is hanging out outside real fast. 6:50 in the morning.
I'll get the door for you anytime.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate that.
That was that's my bad, Shane. It was not intentional. I was, I told Sasha to make sure she had the graphic ready, and told the guys. Obviously, DB knew, and I was like, I just forgot about Shane. That's my bad. That's totally on me, Shane.
It's okay.
Details, schmetails.
He's really upset. You can tell.
You can tell.
So upset.
If he says good morning like 12 times, then we know he's mad.
And good morning.
There's one. I'm going to keep a tally. As you're down there yesterday, Avery, kind of going through, so in real time, how long did this all take? Because it took me like 2 hours to listen to all the audio. So.
Let's see. So press conferences at the podium started at 11.
Okay.
The first session of players out in Hawks was 11:40, and then the next session of guys started at like 12:10, and then I would say 11 to like 2 hours.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Were there like multiple guys
at the same time
speaking at the same time?
Yeah. So they basically had 4 setups in Hawks essentially. So 4 players defense.
Gotcha. Okay.
They switched after that 25-minute period, and then we had I don't think this was originally in the schedule, but they gave us some time to actually talk to a few of the players one-on-one. So talked to Paul Mubenga yesterday. So that was nice. That was good.
Yeah, you texted. You seemed impressed with Mubenga.
Quite honestly, I was impressed with almost everyone that spoke yesterday.
Okay.
If I'm being very honest, and I guess a lot of the new guys we hadn't heard from.
Sure.
Not that the guys that were returners weren't impressive. It's just we hadn't heard from, a Paul Mubenga or a Jameer Khan. We've never really had full media with Jameer Khan before. Yeah. Getting to hear from Owen Chambliss, like not in a 5-minute period.
Yeah, like extended.
Yes, just very high-level thinkers, and you can tell I think I said this to you guys last week. Intentionality was the word of the offseason based on what we heard at Big Ten Media Days, and that is very, very evident. Hearing these new players come in as well who weren't here last season. Mm-hmm. From the strength and conditioning program and what Coach Campbell's put them through, all these guys have come from big places. You have Paul Mubenga coming from LSU, who point blank was like, I've never been pushed like this before, but for good reason. You can tell everything is intentional. Every rep count, there's a meaning behind it. Every workout, they're basically trying to train their mental endurance. Mm-hmm. Luke Lindenmeyer talked about that last week. He's like, your body can do things, but we stop ourselves mentally. And so we've been taking our workouts to another level to prove to ourselves that when it's hard and it's the fourth quarter, there's an endurance grit level that we are training for right now in May, June, July.
Grit got used a lot.
Grit got used a ton. But outside of the new perspective from these guys, a lot of them it was fascinating to hear them talk football and to understand what they're trying to achieve this year. Not only just, we heard the guys say, they want to make it to the college football playoff, but truly understanding what Nebraska's identity wants to be on defense or offense. And, you're talking about the clip from Isaiah. I actually, probably the 2 players I didn't get to hear from Isaiah and then Donovan Jones, but I've heard enough of what the other guys said that I'm sure they were similar talking to Ja'Cory, but it's obvious in my mind that the guys that they've brought in understand what Nebraska is trying to achieve this year. These aren't guys that are like, oh, I'm in Nebraska this year. Like that's not the mentality. It's we're at Nebraska. I have all these resources. I have the coaches, and we have the guys this year. From what it seems like, that everyone understands what the goal is. It's not just we're all these individuals who have these nice things in Nebraska. No, like the goal is. Literally, you hear them say it in 3 different terms. It's simple, fast, and violent on defense, or on offense, it's explosive and scoring points. And that's, sure, we've heard those words here and there in past years, but it kind of comes out sporadically. There's a very common theme amongst all of them. So that's what caught my attention, hearing from all of them, considering they weren't talking together. They were talking different waves. These are guys that are all speaking the same language. And the goals, to me, seem very clear.
So there was a kind of to your point here, there was a soundbite from Jameer Khan talking about, and I think he was specifically talking about play on the field
last season.
Last season.
Yeah. Yep.
but it sort of feels like it's a more overarching theme throughout the program.
Yeah.
In terms of, he talked about like, hey, it felt like a lot of times last year we didn't have a plan.
Correct.
And he said, not the coaches, but like the players didn't have a plan. And you can kind of see that, it feels like, when you talk about, DB and I have talked a ton about, it felt like guys didn't know what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It felt like they were hesitant, like they weren't confident in their assignments and how they were supposed to execute on defense. Which hesitancy makes people look bad faster than anything, right? Like you can be as talented as anybody in the world. If you're hesitant, you're going to look unathletic in a hurry. And that is, I think, a lot of what happened last year is they just didn't have I kept saying they didn't know what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Jameer Khan put it as, hey, we didn't have a plan.
You know what that stood out to me yesterday, and I think you're spot on, because so Owen Chambliss knows this defense.
Yeah, I think
very well, like the back of his hand.
I think we're underestimating how important he's.
And you know what he kept saying is, he says it's very simple to the point where guys have been asking him, hey, when do you think we're going to install more? Is there more install coming? And Owen's like, no, this is the defense. We just have to execute it.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, we're able to be multiple in the schemes that Orch is going to put us in, but like, we're not going to overthink it. Like, this is the defense. The goal is to go play and be violent.
Yeah.
And then when you hear Riley Van Poppel speak, he's like, I think at times I wasn't playing my best last year because I was thinking so much and I was trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And when you're at the college level, like speaking from a college athlete experience, those first 2 years, you're trying to be like, am I standing in the right spot?
Yeah.
Am I moving correctly? Am I running our pressures right? Like, you're thinking about so many things. So I understand what he's saying there, especially if they are in like you're talking about, if they are looking like they're thinking so much, they're hesitating, it's probably because they are.
Yeah.
Do they understand what their assignment is? And to hear the players this year be like, okay, so that's it? Oh, awesome. Like, I don't have to understand, to the point where the guys are asking Owen, hey, so do you think we're installing more? Or when does, he literally said that's
Where's the rest
he
of
literally
it?
was like, that's the question I get the most. And he's like, no, like, this is the defense.
Yeah.
It's our job to make sure that it looks good every time. And I think it's really interesting when you listen to him speak, because he's in the center of the field. He wants to be that green dot guy he was last year too, where he's the one that's understanding what's coming in and getting it out, which makes sense when you hear him speak, right?
100%.
But he's seeing it right in front. He talked. I said, so all these guys are coming to you. They say you're one of the smartest players they've ever played with. Clearly, you understand the defense. What are you portraying to the players that's different than what Rob can give them? Because he's on this. He's like, I've seen this defense right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Rob sees it from the sideline. So it's interesting to hear his perspective. But the term over and over again was simplified, 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 so they can go be violent.
Yeah, I think the thing that sort of I got the sense from last year was, and I think this might be an NFL thing. I'd have to ask somebody who's been in the NFL to give me a little bit more, or at least coaching the NFL to give me a little bit more context here. But I think there was a sense last year that we had to have like the perfect play call for the perfect situation in order to be successful on defense.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe one of the things from like a mentality wise, whether it's John Butler or like Terry Braden, guys that came from the NFL that I think are used to playing this sort of NFL style defense, where that is a little bit more true, where you have to have like the right play call, like a perfect play call to combat whatever's going on the offensive side of the ball. Whereas in college, you really can get not just away with, but thrive in a situation where it's like, hey, I can solve problems with aggression. We've heard Rule talk about that. We've heard a bunch of people on staff talk about that. We've heard DB talk about it, where it's, hey, you need to solve problems with aggression as opposed to solving problems through being perfect in your play call, right? Like, and I think that's a huge difference, especially with college kids, right? There is a lot of other things going on. I know that they're getting paid now. This isn't their full-time job, right? They still have to go to school. They still have to deal with stuff that, as college kids, that you don't have to deal with as an adult. And I think we underestimate the amount of extra time NFL players put in to be able to be comfortable in super complex defenses that in college is not a really practical thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when Rule was talking, I think it was at Big Ten Media Days, he talked about, hey, I wanted a defensive coordinator that was just going to get my best 11 guys on the field, right? I didn't want a situation where it was going to say like, well, he's one of our most talented guys, but he doesn't understand what we're trying to do, so I can't put him on the field yet. It's like, if you're one of the best 11 guys, you better find a way to get those 11 guys on the field. It seems like that's what the goal of Rob Orch's defense is. And this is a pet peeve for me going all the way back to like Bo, right? Like there were guys in the Pelini era that you'd see little flashes of, and you'd be like, that guy looks really good. But people are like, yeah, but especially in the secondary, like with the safeties especially. And you go, hey, like I get that he understands the defense, but why is like Matt O'Hanlon playing, or as opposed to Larry Asante or whoever, right? Just random guys that I'm trying to think of. And it'd be like, well, they don't really understand the defense. And it goes, okay, if Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Miami and Texas can find a way to get 5 stars and 4 stars on the field early consistently, like we should figure out a way how to do that at Nebraska, right? Yeah. Like you should figure out a way how to get your good players on the field. And it seems like last year that wasn't really the case, whereas this year it's much more of, hey, who are the best guys? How can we put those guys in the best position to execute on a regular basis? And I think that's what you're talking about with, like, hey, is there more install? Nope, this is it. We're going to go just be violent now. Yeah. And honestly, like, especially in college, I think that works. And I think you've seen it with Orich in his last 2 stops of, like, the quick turnarounds. I think it works just to be like, hey, here are our principles. Go execute them as violently as possible.
I don't know if you've caught in this too, but I thought that Nebraska, the couple of years under Rule that they had strong defensive seasons was when Tony was able to use a lot of players, and everyone seemingly at times was on the same page, even when they were shuttling in 4 or 5 different guys at a time. From what I've gathered, it feels like there's some of that coming this year, based on what it sounds like from the depth perception, or just depth perspective, or just from what I've heard from even just Andrew Marshall speaking, or even kind of Coach Rule talking about just what he envisions so far with the guys that are on defense. It seems like there's the ability to kind of plug and play guys. Like, hey, this is the defense. If you've like you just said, if you understand it, because it's simplified and you know our 3 goals, and we have the depth, and it seems like a lot of the guys have gotten stronger. So the size is no longer some of an issue either. Like, it seems like more guys might be used this year. And I feel like people were a fan of that.
Oh, yeah.
Under Tony White, because of how many guys you're able to fly in there.
When you're fresh all the time.
All the time.
If you're always fresh and you always know what you're supposed to be doing, you look way faster, right? Like I don't think there's anything controversial about that. If you have fresh legs and you're sure of what you're supposed to be doing, you will look way faster. And like, I always find it a little funny when we're like, oh man, they just look so much faster than us. It's like, okay, when you're playing in the Big Ten, like, yes, there's going to be especially at Nebraska's level, right? Like this isn't Purdue. This isn't a program that's really like, yes, Nebraska's really struggled, but for other reasons, right? You
might have just walked yourself into a clip there.
This isn't Purdue where, Rico's going to do me dirty on that one for sure. This isn't Purdue where, like, you've got there's a clear just talent gap between Purdue and even the middle of the league, right? With Nebraska, when Nebraska looks slower and less athletic than everybody else, it's usually something else, right? Like you go play Ohio State, sure, there's going to be an athleticism gap. But when you're playing the teams that Nebraska has lost to on a pretty consistent basis, whether it's Minnesota or Iowa or, Northwestern or whoever, right, in that kind of category of teams, like, you can't convince me that Illinois, just at every place on the field, is significantly more athletic than Nebraska. But when Illinois knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing and Nebraska is confused, then it's going to appear to be a huge athleticism gap there, right? Like, you explained it when you were playing college soccer. Like, you probably looked less athletic in those first 2 years than people you knew you were more athletic than. Right? And it's because you just have so much hesitancy that slows you down.
And you're thinking through absolutely everything that you realize, I've never thought this much before playing. So why is that?
And when it's second nature, all of a sudden you have guys like the Rude brothers, who I think literally clocked like a 4.940 at the combine, be the all-time leading tacklers at Nebraska. Like, that's not a coincidence. Like, they're like almost every linebacker that I'm sure those guys played with were faster than they were, and it didn't matter. Certainly all the running backs that they were tackling were. Like, that's just, but they were so sure of what they were supposed to be doing, and their instincts were good, right? And so I'm actually very, very excited about this. I think I asked, I don't remember if it was MRI or DB or both at one point. I was like, hey, if simplifying the defense always seems to fix everything, then why do we get complicated in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, and it felt like a very like dumb guy didn't play football question, but like I also think it's a little true.
Yeah.
Like it seems to always be the solution. It's just like, hey, just dumb it down.
Yeah.
And instead we're just like, wait a second, what if we hire an NFL defensive coordinator? It's like,
let's add more to the mix.
And it's like you realize you only get so much time with these guys, right? Like that you don't get 40 hours of film a week.
Yeah, right. I do think it's interesting you say that too, because there seems to be this interesting cohesiveness amongst the defense that, based on how Andrew Marshall said it last week, he basically made a comment about how he's hanging out with guys in the D line and they're kind of having sessions together, or he's like, I don't know if he meant strictly in Nebraska or maybe just in his career, but basically being like, I don't usually hang out with the D-line that much, or the edge rushers guys or whatever. He's like, but we're like kind of like one unit right now. And like, we understand that like, in order for them to do their job, I've got to do my job back there and vice versa. And then when you hear Jameer Khan speak yesterday about just the amount of guys that are getting an extra, he's like, I'll go turn the lights on in here at 10 o'clock. And I hit the group chat telling him that I'm at Hawks at 10 and like multiple guys are showing up. Or if I'm sitting in the film room, he's like, that group's only gotten larger and larger. And he made a comment about just how they're kind of trying to click on the same page so that they can execute this defense, because he's like, if we all understand it, I can help do another guy's job so the other guy can go make the play.
Yeah.
So I think there's an interesting level of thinking amongst the guys too, that now that it seems like maybe that OTA period was really crucial for them to understand these things. And now they're able to go even practice just executing even before they've had time with coaches.
Yeah. DB brought up how much he liked them going early in spring.
Yeah.
And like, the more I thought about it, I was like, that actually, like, it almost, I don't know if I'm just being like rule pilled here or something, where I'm like, oh yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
But the more I've thought about it, it's like, okay, it does make a ton of sense to get the football part done as early as possible so that the rest of your offseason you can improve on the things that you know you're either good or like you're struggling with within the football stuff, right? It's like, hey, I realize I'm not strong enough at the point of attack here. Like, that's a thing I can work on here. Or I realize I'm having trouble with this particular look and fitting in the run game from the second level. That's something I can work on in OTAs and stuff, as opposed to, you know, you have this long winter strength and conditioning. By the time you get to April in your spring game, you're like, I've only got a month left here before I go home for a little bit and come back. Like, it just, the timing of it all of a sudden makes way more sense to me. And like, hey, let's figure out what we're good at and what we're not good at. And then let's fix those things with a group, with a block of time that we actually have now, instead of just going, hey, we think this is what we need to get better at. Then we play the spring game, and hopefully we can fix that on the back end.
Yeah, we have a month off, and then let's come and revisit that. Yeah,
like, I liked the immediate feedback of, hey, this is what we need to work on. We now have time to do that. I thought that was really valuable in a way that it kind of just made me like, wait, why doesn't everybody do that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And again, maybe I'm just being like,
I think with the guys you see on there, I mean,
it seemed like they liked it a lot.
I think so too. That, and well, one, it took away mad drills from what I've gathered. Seems like a positive. Seems like an overarching positive. But also, I think having new guys in pivotal roles on the roster, I think it helped them as well. I mean, when you have an Anthony Calandria who's walking into the program, or you have guys on defense or even on the offensive line that are stepping into a new program. So yeah, they're getting right to the football stuff early, which Coach Rule said it sounded like that's what everyone wanted. It was like because the way the season ended, it was like, I don't want to twiddle our thumbs around here and wait to go hit someone again or whatever it may be. Like, they just wanted to kind of get down to work. But I also think having real repetition on the field in a spring game format allowed those new guys to also kind of get their feet wet, but then be like, okay, now we have time to also understand what it looks like in a grand scheme, because they are new as well.
What did you think about the way, I thought this was really, I mean, Isaiah has like a certain personality, right? Like, I don't think excitable's the word, like enthusiastic, I think is the right word. Like, he's like very enthusiastic about sort of everything to do with the program. One of the things that really stuck out to me was the way he talked about Andrew Marshall.
I missed it.
So he was basically saying, it's like, I only go up against Andrew Marshall because I know that guy is, and it's probably an exaggeration, right? I'm sure he goes up against other people, but he's like, I love going up against that guy because I think he's the best corner in the country and he's going to make me better, right? And he was just like effusive in his praise of Andrew Marshall. And we've heard DB talk about how Andrew Marshall is going to get drafted. I think that's true as well. we've heard him talk about how Orich came back, saw Andrew Marshall after being away from him for a couple years and be like, oh, you're better than when I left you. Obviously he ends up at Big Ten Media Days as well. I'm sort of fascinated to see what Andrew Marshall looks like because he would be the second guy in a row that we weren't really sure about after Sierra Wright, right? Sierra Wright comes in late. We're like, okay, he's Hollywood movie star. Like, he really wants to play football. Like, I remember people like, does he actually want to play football?
Yeah.
What's he doing here? Like, is he just out of options? Like, I remember that conversation happening. And then all of a sudden, he comes in. I thought he should have got drafted last year. I thought he was, I mean, look at what he did to guys like Mekhi Lemon. Like, he was phenomenal last year. And I look at that and I go, okay, so you've got the Sierra Wright example where he leaves this place way better than when he got here. And now you've got Andrew Marshall, whose former DC is like, oh, you weren't like this when I left you. And I think has a real shot to get drafted in the spring as well. Like, we're starting to get a lot of evidence that maybe especially at corner, I don't know about safety yet, but especially at corner, the development there, we saw Donovan Jones get on the field at corner, really young, be effective.
Jameer Khan was high on
Donovan Jones. I think a lot of people are.
Like, yeah, he's had time on the field, but I mean, the way he was speaking about him, it was almost as if no one's ever watched him play before. And it was like this, wait until you see Donovan Jones.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we have kind of seen Donovan Jones, but the way he was speaking about it was kind of like, no, like, this is.
You've only seen this version of Donovan Jones. We've got a different version now. And so we'll throw Donovan Jones in there. We'll throw Sierra Wright in there. We'll throw Andrew Marshall in there. I think at some point we might start to, we talk about just landing Danny Odom, right, as a five-star prospect that was super highly touted. People thought he was going to flip, stuck with his commitment to Nebraska. At some point, I think we're going to start talking about Addison Williams and the job that he's done with the corners, because we're starting to mount more and more evidence that, not only is this guy an excellent recruiter, which we knew, but might be actually really, really good at developing cornerbacks in a way that I don't know that we've appreciated yet. And kind of the way that Isaiah was talking about Marshall, like, reiterated that for me. And you make a really good point about Donovan Jones as well.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting the way you said it, because I was like, well, I mean, if there's any guy that we've seen and people are familiar with because a local name, like, people have seen, but the way Jameer was talking about him, it was kind of like there's this new version of Donovan Jones. And I don't know if that's just because the bigger, stronger, faster was the emphasis all off season, or just maybe he's understanding and flourishing his role now too, but I'm interested.
So I wonder, because it felt like at times, because they tried him at a couple different spots, right?
100%.
He was most comfortable and most effective as like the boundary outside corner, right? When you got him kind of further into the middle of the field, it seemed like he got a little lost and a little uncomfortable. I do wonder how much of that was confusion on what he was supposed to be doing, as opposed to like, you're on the outside, you're on the boundary. It's just like, hey, I cover my guy, don't get beat, let's go. Like a pretty traditional corner role, right? Whereas once you start moving to the inside of that defense, further inside you get like the more assignments and the more noise around you, it gets complicated in a hurry. I do wonder if maybe that's part of it, where it's like, hey, maybe he can play anywhere now. Maybe he's a guy that you can, because physically I think they'd like to play him a little bit further inside. He's a big guy, especially for a secondary player, right? And for a corner. So I think they'd like him to play a little bit more inside, but he just didn't seem like he was getting it before. Maybe now that his mental side of the game is matched up with where he would be at physically, like maybe that's what Jameer Khan's talking about, because that would be pretty interesting to me.
Also, you bring up Danny Odom's name. It's funny because I feel like around signing day and all that kind of stuff, there was a lot of excitement for him for obvious reasons, right? And there's a lot to look forward to. But based on what we've heard from some of the players at Big Ten Media Days, or even just yesterday, I think his name flies under the radar because he's a true freshman, and so you don't know what to expect yet. Or how much will he be on the field? Andrew Marshall kind of said point blank, I don't treat him like a freshman anymore. And I mean, I think they haven't even started fall camp. He's like, we just kind of expect that Danny understands what we're doing because of what he's proven to us already. So the fact that he seems to be in that mix confidently from the older guys and they trust him, I think is interesting. So I'm curious to see his impact and how quickly it happens, or what his role looks like.
The trust part is huge from the older guys, right? And I do think that is a spot where, like, corner, secondary in general, but especially corner, is a spot where I look like, hey, a true freshman can play there. Like, there's going to be some matchups where there may be a little physically overwhelmed, but for the most part, that's one of the places that has, I think, physically a smaller jump from high school to college. Like, we're not talking about, offensive guard or something like that, where it's like, yeah, you better be a grown up to play in there, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about defensive tackle, where it's like, hey, you better be a grown up to play in there. Corner's a spot where you can legitimately see, hey, those guys don't look that much different. Like, yes, they're in better shape, they get stronger, I get all that, but they physically don't look that much different than they did in high school for a lot of the time, especially a guy like Odom, who wasn't, like, Odom's not necessarily a project prospect the way some of these, like some other guys are, right? Like, Jeremiah Charles was like a projection, right?
Yeah.
You were looking at, like, hey, in a few years down the line, that could be a guy that we really, really like. And by all accounts, I think that is a guy that they're going to end up
going that way.
really, really liking.
Yeah.
I think he could be a really good part of this defense this year. But Danny Odom's a guy I really like, yeah, he's going to play early. I don't know if it's true freshman or, halfway through the year, whatever, but like, that's a guy that you look like, hey, probably physically capable of playing early. To know that the older guys trust him already is basically the only variable left with a guy like Odom. So that is, I think for Nebraska, adding that into the mix is a huge thing for them, because then if you've got Andrew Marshall, Charles, and Odom and Donovan Jones as corners, all of a sudden you got a nice little group there that can give you some teeth. That, like, after Sierra Wright, Andrew Marshall last year, wasn't really sure in terms of pure cover guys how much you liked the rest of the depth on the secondary, and all of a sudden now you're like, okay, if we've got 4 guys, we're having a whole different conversation about what that looks like. Let's take a quick break here. We're going to get to Brian Christopherson, 24 from Husker 24/7. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi. We will be right back. More Hurrdat Sports Live.
On championship, yeah, he's amazing. He's probably the smartest football player I've ever played with. Him and probably Deshaun Singleton from last year. Owen's one of the best players I ever played with. He's so smart. He knows so much football. I learn from him. He learns from me. We bounce ideas off each other's head, and he wants it. Like, a lot of times, especially in this era of football where you have NIL and things like that, there's not too many guys that really want it and really have a true hunger for it. That's one guy that has a true hunger for it and really works, and he has my utmost respect from that.
Are you feeling off, low energy, or asleep? At Next Gen Male Medical, we not only evaluate your testosterone, but overall health. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Together, we'll get you back on your game.
There's nothing about last season that I look back and regret. We prepared
great. We had an incredible run. We broke records, and it's sports. There's adversity along the way. You don't know when it's going to hit you, and unfortunately it didn't fall in our favor this past year. But I think our team hit the reset button pretty quickly and realized that, you have to work and be great for an entire season, and that doesn't end till the last ball drops.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, honestly, if you're a quarterback, you gotta bring the juice every day. And Anthony, he brings it every single day. His attitude, his mindset, and his game is never gonna change. But his attitude coming into the facilities is phenomenal, and his energy is contagious. It makes you want to be better for him and for the whole team.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Male Medical. That's not Austin. That's Avarie. I knew it wasn't DB.
That's so offensive.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
That's Avarie Howard. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Brian CHRISTOPHERSON, Husker 24/7. BC, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. I just accidentally called Avarie Austin, so I'm gonna pay for that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, see, look, BC knows too. Not good.
Listen, I knew it wasn't DB next to me, and my brain was just like, who's usually there? It's fine. BC, a lot of access to players yesterday. What are some of the things that just stuck out to you? I kind of want to give you a little blank canvas here because there was so much before we start nailing down on some things. What were a couple of things that just popped to the top of your head in terms of what we experienced yesterday?
I have an echo. One second. Am I echoing you guys?
Yeah, it's a StreamYard thing, BC. Guys, if we can take a quick break, we'll try to reset this and see if we can make it work. Sorry about that.
Yeah, is that all right? You mind if we take a quick break here?
No, that's fine.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll try and get the audio fixed, and we'll be back with BC right after this.
Yeah, I love him to death. Harper Bergen, Laney, and we have just become so close, and now we have year 4, most special relationship, and we've worked really hard on building that. So I'm just really grateful for them, and I wouldn't want to do it without them, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other class. We've become so close, and we're like sisters now. So not that, they've literally been my sisters since the first day we stepped on campus. We all clicked right away. So I'm just really grateful that I get to do it with them.
If losing weight is harder than you expected, it's not just about willpower. At Next Gen Male Medical Clinic, we build a supervised plan around your body, not someone else's. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Let's get you moving forward. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. BC, let's try this again. We've restarted everything. We're crossing our fingers. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
You sound great to us, so that's a good sign here. We will see what the chat says on the stream, but wanted to start off just seeing how you processed everything. We had a ton of access to players yesterday. What are a couple of things right off the bat that stuck out to you?
I would say just the high IQ of a lot of the guys. Owen Chambliss, Jameer Khan, the way they can talk in detail about the mission and what they expect from this defense, I thought was very impressive.
What do you think there's a version of this where we're underestimating the impact Owen Chambliss is possibly having on this team, on this defense early?
Yeah, that's possible. He obviously excelled last year for Rob, and he's just a football guy. Like, he had that ankle injury, the toe injury, the spring, and he still wanted to be on the field because he wanted to get the calls out of the guy and be that leader. So I think he wants to be that green dot guy, and I think he's got the capabilities to do that well.
Did you find it interesting that he mentioned, I don't know if you were staying at the table when he said this, but he said a lot of the guys on the team had been asking him, hey, when's more install coming? Are we installing more to the defense? And he was like, no, this is it, essentially. It's about executing our plan and going and being violent and understanding the defense. I thought that was interesting that he said that was the most asked question he's getting is how much more install is coming. And he's like, you guys basically know the defense.
Yeah, that was interesting. And it sounded like guys weren't overwhelmed, like they wanted more, but he's like, no, this is it. Let's play fast. Let's play simple. Let's play violent. And I think that's the way Rob rolls. And I think Owen Chambliss can tell those guys it can work really well. Now you have to prove it at the Big Ten level. You did it in the Mountain West, so this is a different game. But when you have guys like Owen Chambliss and Dwayne Dougal that have had success with it, that's really going to help you. I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting a pretty bad echo. That's why I sound like I'm talking for the first time.
Oh, you're getting an echo on your end as well?
Yeah. I'm only saying that because I think I sound like a third grader speaking.
No, you're okay. I did think the answers were a little shorter than normal, so no, that makes sense though. I think
Ravi, we can try one more thing. I'm BC. I'm so sorry, and we're sorry. If we want to take just one more quick 1 minute break, I think there's one other thing we can try. If not, we are working with StreamYard to see if we can figure out the issue.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, BC. Let's take
no problem.
One more quick break, see if we can get this sorted out for you, and then we'll be right back. Everyone's talking about peptides. You are doing it right. At Next Gen Male Medical Clinic, peptide treatments are clinician guided, tailored to your goals, monitored for safety. Call today or visit nextgenmmc.com.
I admire Allison Widener so much.
Oh, just tell me about it.
The way she's come back year after year and just has dealt with this, and I mean, she could hang it up. No one would blame her if she decided to never play basketball again. What have you learned from her?
Oh, I've learned so much. I actually get chills when I think about her just because she's been such a great leader for me, and she attacks every single day. And whether or not that's rehab, whether or not she gets to, play a little bit of practice here and there, she just does it all with an attack mindset, and she gives it her all no matter what she's doing. And like I said, her leadership off the court is just, it's insane. And she treats all of us like we're her little kids. We call her grandma just because she's been here for a little while, but she treats all of us like we're her own, and she leans into us whenever we're struggling and picks us up, hypes us up when we do something good, and so just really leans into us as
Am I echoing for anybody? Can the chat let me know if there's an echo?
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
All right, third time's a charm. That's Avery. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. I believe Rico, Austin, and Shane have fixed it. BC, how we doing over there?
Let's see. It's I can hear myself back, so that's sort of the problem because I'm like talking over what I just said, but we can decide if you want to continue with me or not.
Yeah, let's give it a go. I think the chat is saying no echo on their end. So let's.
There's an echo.
Does it help if I do it on phone?
Maybe. Let's give it a go. Let's
Sorry about this, guys.
No, you're okay. Let's try and bring it in on your cell phone and see what happens there. Rico, can you talk real quick to see if your echo came back? Because it seemed like in the chat yours was okay.
Hello, everybody. Nope, back.
That's so weird. I don't hear anything.
I don't either. Like, it sounds a little distorted, but I'm not getting an echo, and that's super weird because it was fine when Rico tried it over the break as well. It might just be. I don't know. Mervin says it sounds good now. I don't know if he's on delay. Let's give it a try with BC on his phone there. Otherwise, I'm not sure what we're.
It's going to be the same.
I'm not sure what we're going to do the rest of the show. It's fine. We don't need guests. It'll be okay. Avery, how's your return to live shows? You feel good?
This is awesome. Maybe it's my fault.
I do think we should just blame Avery. I think that makes everything easier and better.
No, it's fine. No, totally fine.
Easier and better. No.
Or we can just, blame DB. Yeah, it's fine.
That's true. Let's blame DB. He's not even here to defend himself. He probably sabotaged it on his way out this morning.
Probably did.
That actually seems more like a DB thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe he was setting you up. He was like, hey, it'd be really funny. Let's prank Avery.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
How was the trip with DB to Chicago?
Well, I've done a couple trips with DB, so
I know. I'm curious how this one went.
It was good.
No,
got it. Dramatic hand movement's not for us.
He's not talking to us. It's fine.
It's good. It's funny because when you guys talk about Damon's lack of understanding how to use his phone, it's funny to me because that's exactly how my father is, like to a T. So when you guys talk about it, it's funny, but when you experience it, like sitting next to him on a plane, it's true. Like like my dad will be in the air and he's like,
"Hey guys, we have an idea."
Okay. An idea.
Okay. So we are going to try something where we're going to bring BC back, and every time that he is answering, we are going to mute you guys, so you won't be able to interject into his answers. But then we will bring your audio back when you're going to ask a question. How's that sound?
Let's give it a go. Go. Is BC here?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right.
we're gonna try this. We're gonna try this thing where they're muting us as you answer to see if that helps on the echo at all, BC. I don't know. We'll give it a go. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what we were talking about. I think it was Owen Chambliss.
Yes, install of defense, if that answer surprised BC.
Yeah, Avery, that's a great observation by you. And the thing that stood out was, guys aren't overwhelmed. They were eager to maybe hear more, learn more, or get more install. But I think it goes to the point of Rob Orrich's defense. When you hear guys who have played in it before, they talk about simple, fast, violent. And I heard you guys in the first hour before all the echoing problems on my end ruined your show. And, I just think that is probably what you need at this level of football. Like last year, I felt like John Butler's a very good coach, but when you would hear even in the off season leading into it, them talk about what they're going to do, it was always sort of about what they could do more of, like on third down and in certain situations like that to create more chaos. And sometimes I would go back and think, I wonder how that's going to play, because you've got all these moving parts. It's not like the pro game where these guys are 30 years old and have been all their time is just dedicated to this, and I think it showed last year where there wasn't a lot of confidence. You heard Jameer Khan say players maybe didn't have a plan or a understanding of exactly what they were wanted to do, and I think that made them look less athletic and less fast. And so I like that there's some talk about simplicity. That said, I don't want to undersell that Rob Orich, I think, and it comes off when you heard Riley Van Poppel talk about him, is a very creative guy who, as Van Poppel said, he'll keep offenses on their toes, but he'll also keep his own guys on their toes. So there's a healthy balance there that I think they're finding, and it helps when you've got guys like Owen Chambliss and Dwayne McDougal who have been in this defense before, and they can play it out for guys on the field. And Chambliss is a great green dot guy, like the guy to have 110 tackles last year for San Diego State, and a lot of TFLs, a lot of chaos plays, and he's a high IQ football guy. We hear that about a lot of players, but when he talks, you can definitely see it. I think you see it in like Jameer Khan too, and a bunch of the different guys. I think that's something they got going for him.
BC, were you surprised at all to hear the way that Isaiah Hunter was talking about Andrew Marshall and just sort of the affinity for his ability? I mean, I think he called him the best corner in the country at one point. I know we're all pretty big fans of Andrew Marshall in terms of what he brought last year, but did that kind of catch you off guard at all?
Not really, because I just think there's so much respect for Marshall in that locker room, and the way he handles his business. Obviously, Matt Rule thinks highly of him to bring him to Chicago for Big Ten Media Days, and Isaiah Hunter is one of those guys like Quasi and Ja'Cory. It's like who's the best guy, who's the most established guy on the other side of the ball. I want my reps mostly against him. Obviously, he doesn't take all his reps against him, but that you're going to get a seasoned player over there who has draft potential, and that's what you want to be. Isaiah Hunter, this is his fourth year, so I mean, technically he could have another year, but I think he's looking at it as like wanting it to be a statement season for him that sets him up for his pro ambitions. If it's his final Husker season, and so you're going to do everything you can each practice to make yourself that kind of player, and Andrew Marshall sort of gives you that. But there's a lot to like on that back end of the defense. Andrew Marshall certainly is where it starts. I think honestly, the biggest thing is going to be how much improvement they can get at that safety spot, whether they can take the leap there. They, on paper, should be able to do it. I think they love Jameer Khan and how he fits, but you've also got Rex Guthrie and, Caleb Benning and guys like that who are going to have their say in the competition here in fall camp. But you pair whoever that second guy is, this Khan seemingly right now going into camp with McDougal, that's got to be a position, along with Andrew Marshall being a lockdown corner,
where like they're on point with their tackling and cleaning up messes, so to speak, that I don't think that spot did a very good job of last year.
BC, switching other side of the ball real quick. Did you have time to go listen to Paul Mubenga by chance?
Just a little bit, but I'd be what you hear from him, I'd be happy to know from someone who was around him more.
Yeah, I was just curious, just because of the expectations going into the season for the O-line, to hear someone who's new to the program. Obviously, it kind of feels like they're all new a little bit, having a new position coach, but it was interesting. I told Ravi today that I was impressed by the high IQ from everyone, and that went over to the offensive line as well. Hearing him speak and just the way that Coach Jeep Wade coaches them, and just their approach, because you heard Anthony yesterday say, it feels like this line's played together for a few seasons and they haven't even played a traditional game yet together. So I was asking Paul, just why do you think that is? And he said there's no egos, it's open communication. He's like, we've all brought our different experiences to this place, and it's also meshing with what Wade is allowing us to do. He says he kind of gives them the freedom to learn and make mistakes, but he said it's not just Jeep's way or no way. Like, they have say as well, and he thinks that's why it's allowed them to play as a unit. So I was just curious what you caught, because I thought the high IQ came off from him as well, not just the defensive players.
Yeah, that makes sense to me that he came off that way, because you go back to Jeep Wade in the spring, and he was talking about Paul, Tree, Brendan Black. The thing about it is, usually in the portal cycle, it's kind of a quick romance, where you got to like get to know the player sort of in 3 to 5 days, one visit time with them, and you got to decide, do you both fit together? And in this case, with the 3 linemen they brought in, Jeep Wade and Lonnie Teasley have research that goes back a couple of years on all of those guys. And so I think there was an understanding, like, these are mature players. And that's what Jeep said in the spring. Like, I know what I'm getting out of Paul. I know what I'm getting out of Brendan Black already. Maybe they haven't played directly for me, but, these are guys who I've watched them as recruits. I've watched them closely coming up in their first college years at other places. And there was no doubt about the type of work and the way they would fit chemistry wise. And then you factor in like how Mubenga and like Pritchett hit it off like on his portal visit. And I think it maybe helps a little bit that like, Pritchett was like a former SEC guy. I do think that matters a little bit. They kind of have that background. And so there's a commonality there that helped them. But I like that there's an embrace of expectations with the O-line. Like they have more than 7,300 snaps between the 5 of them. And so it should be a good group. Now they got to go try to be great. And that's the big question to answer. My favorite thing, Avarie, yesterday was it. I don't know if you guys agree, but it feels like it's been an off season where whenever we talk about this team, at least outside the walls, there's always a yeah, but clause to everything, like, yeah, but this, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's fair. I understand why the fans and everybody is in that position, but it was kind of a breath of fresh air actually to just have a day over there where everybody, and this is pre-fall camp talk, it's normal, but they were confident, like this is, I believe in what we're going to be, and we're going to shoot for the top, and that's the way a competitor should be. So I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it, where we got away from having to come back with a retort to every positive thought. And so I think they're really well connected on the O-line, but I think as a team it felt that way.
BC, when you're looking at the offensive line, I think it's entirely possible that you've got guys that Sam Sledge or Gunnar Gatula, guys that have played, that have experience. Tyler Knock, I think, is in that category as well. I sort of expect to see more than 5 guys play snaps outside of just garbage time as well. Is there a difference for you between having guys play in that scenario where you feel pretty good about all of them, at least I do, versus like DB brought up to me, for example, he isn't totally sold on Oregon's offensive line, and he heard Dan Lanning say that, hey, we might be playing 6 to 8 guys. Like, when you hear a group or a coach say, we're going to play 6 to 8 guys on the offensive line, can that hit you in 2 different ways?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point, Ravi. I mean, sometimes we've heard that even here before seasons where it's like, yeah, we want to get to 8 where you feel good about it. And you're like, yeah, who are the 8 really? Like you try to squint and make yourself believe that's going to work. But there's been for a decent amount of time a drop off between like the 5th guy and the 6th guy that's considerable. And I think the hope is, and it can be more than a hope actually with this group, because Gatula's a guy, I mean, he was easily like a first 5 guy for them last year. I remember at media days, we were kind of trying to figure out, okay, how are they going to move the pieces around? Who's the front 5? And one of the things Rule said was, hey, Gatula's going to play. It's just a matter of where, and kind of put that to bed. And so that's how he was thought of. And he's dealt with his injuries. And I think, hopefully put that behind him. And he's a player a lot of programs would love to have. So, I mean, as an option to either be a 6 guy or heck, push the guys we think are going to be the starting 5. Let's not make it so easy around here anymore where everybody's name is in pen on August 5th, like where you have to really fight for your spot. And I think they can have some of that on the O-line. Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be those 5 we usually talk about to start. I do think you're going to see a good mix of Gatula, Tyler Kanak, as you say. Sledge has been a guy they like. Jake Peters is coming up. Tamua. And Gibson Pyle was a guy I would throw out there that last year a lot of older guys were talking about, and then he had the injury. So he'd be a guy to just keep in mind as we get into camp.
Yeah, you mentioned, it's funny that you mentioned Talmua. He got brought up yesterday, kind of unprompted, I think by Paul Mubenga, just as kind of a guy that was a voice and sort of a leader in the room. So I thought that was super interesting, and so I'm glad you brought him up. I will say, and so not just to, necessarily use Oregon as an example, I'm curious if you think on the other side of the line, if Nebraska actually is in that opposite position where they're, hey, we might play 6 guys on the defensive line. We're not totally sure which of those guys are dudes yet, if that makes sense. Is that how you see it, or do you think the offensive line and defensive line are more similar?
No, I think that's a fair way to put it going into camp. Is the D-line is more what you were talking about with the Oregon O-line a little bit, where we heard at Big Ten Media Days, Rule said, I'd love to play 8 to 10 guys, and we think we can. Like, there was confidence expressed, like you'd expect a coach to say. But it is more of a let's see it with those guys. There's no doubt about it. You have players who are really intriguing. There's no question there. I mean, Jasir Whittington, the way guys continue to talk about him is an exciting prospect. And he's built his weight up. He played at 250 last year. Now he's, I think, 275. But he's going to have to prove it in the Big Ten. I'm really interested with those edges. If they can just in unison sort of step together, because everybody sort of has a prove it part to their career right now, like in different ways. Like Anthony Jones, I think is going to be incredibly valuable to this team. But he's had a solid career where he's gotten snaps, but he probably hasn't been that game wrecker he wants to be yet. And so this is an opportunity in his final year of college football to do that. Cameron Lenhart, we always say it, or I always say it, that, he's one of those players. I think some people think the book is sort of written on him. They know what his game is like, and he can show like, no, I've maybe especially in this 4-down front or what Orich has cooked up with Roy Manning and Corey Brown, he can excel to another level. And then obviously, Van Poppel's huge. Like, and I like the fact that he's embracing. And I think Dave Tollefson's another guy who's good for Van Poppel, because he's, Tollefson's played at the NFL and can talk as a player to him about like, there are expectations on you, and that's a privilege, like, let's go do it. Let's get off that block and make a few more of those plays and be that guy. And so there's reason for optimism with what's there, but they probably have more questions than the O-line going in. But we'll see about that. Sometimes the narratives we think are right about position groups get flipped on their head by early October.
So, BC, it's funny you brought up Tollefson because I talked to DB about this. I also like not just his obviously experience and expertise, but like he's, and I say this affectionately, he's a little nuts. And I feel like it's, I don't know, that's important to me on a defensive line. Like, I feel like you need somebody that's like a little bit crazy in the trenches. And I feel like that's a positive attribute that he can bring this team that I'm not sure they've had the last couple of years.
No, that's probably true. I think you want your D lineman a little nuts, to be honest. If not, I always question how they can play that game at such a high level. I've seen a few guys who do it who are very sane and they're still incredible players, but that's probably useful. I think the other part about Dave Tollefson is he was a guy who had to sort of come up from, not having a lot of expectations about what he was going to do with his football career. And he battled his way to the NFL to be a consistent player. And his story, I have to think, is motivation for guys, and probably even a couple walk-on guys or type of players we don't talk as much about. But yeah, I think he's been good for that room. It's a really interesting group. They got to be sturdy. And they've got to have, we always mention, Van Poppel and Whittington, but like Owen Stoudemire's got to be good. And Sua Lafotu's got to be good. Like that's how you get to your 8 to 10, where you feel you have some reliability, where you can show your depth. And it's going to be needed in the Big Ten. It always gets to that point in November where it's sort of a war of attrition and you got to prove that you have the bodies there.
That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, appreciate the time. We will let you go. Thank you for hanging in there with us with the audio issues and everything. I think we got it all suited so it was at least listenable for everybody. So we appreciate your patience on that.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry for all the problems, guys.
No, you're all good. I think it's on our end. That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. We're going to take a quick break here. We will have Kevin Suits from 1011 News in Lincoln right after this on Hurrdat Sports Live.
He's amazing. He's probably the smartest football player I've ever played with. Him and probably Deshaun Singleton from last year. Owen's one of the best players I ever played with. He's so smart. He knows so much football. I learn from him. He learns from me. We bounce ideas off each other's head, and he wants it. Like a lot of times, especially in this era of football where you have NIL and things like that. There's not too many guys that really want it and really have a true hunger for it. That's one guy that has a true hunger for it and really works, and he has my utmost respect from that.
Are you feeling off, low energy, or asleep? At NextGen Male Medical, we not only evaluate your testosterone, but overall health. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Together, we'll get you back on your game.
there's nothing about last season that I look back and regret. We prepared great. We had an incredible run. We broke records, and it's sports. There's adversity along the way. You don't know when it's going to hit you. And unfortunately, it didn't fall in our favor this past year. But I think our team hit the reset button pretty quickly and realized that, you have to work and be great for an entire season, and that doesn't end until the last ball drops.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Kevin Suits from Kevin, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Good morning to you guys.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it. How have you been since you got back from Chicago? How's that whole experience been for you?
Okay, so here's the thing. Chicago, you can, I guess, keep football at arm's length as long as you want, but as soon as Big Ten Media Days hits, it's like, okay, it's coming. You can't deny it anymore. So I guess the biggest thing is just the mental shift that knowing that football season is on the horizon, and all it takes is a couple of Curt Cignetti sound bites and a couple of Matt Rule isms in there, and then all of a sudden you feel like it wasn't that long ago, because frankly, it wasn't really that long ago. And now that fall camp begins today for the Huskers, it's time to put on your seatbelt, and it's going to be maybe a bumpy ride, a curvy ride, could be a fun ride. You never know what the season has in store.
What stood out to you yesterday from the amount of players that we heard from?
Avery, wasn't that something? I mean, it was almost a dozen guys talked during the preseason news conference, and it kind of all happened simultaneously. So the reporters get to kind of pick and choose who you want to talk to. There's offense, there's defense, there's people in the trenches, there's guys on the back end. For whatever reason, I leaned a little bit offense, and I was with some of the skill guys. I think the two players that maybe caught my attention the most from some of our side interviews was Ja'Cory Barney Jr. and Isaiah Hunter. And Isaiah's just Avery, maybe you'd agree with this. I feel like I'm talking to a 45-year-old, not, a college student. He just seems so mature and very insightful. There's a lot of depth to the message he's conveying about his own personal goals and about the offense and about, fall camp and living in the dorms. He has such a mature presence about him. And I think that bodes pretty well for that wide receiver room. And I think that there's so much focus on everything else outside of some of these skill positions that the skill guys could actually be really, really good. And Ja'Cory even said that they know from as a position group, nobody's really giving them a whole lot of attention. But if you look at it top to bottom, Ja'Cory and Isaiah, Quasi Gilmer's in the mix now. And they have some guys that got a lot of reps last year that could really work into the mix as well, like Cortez Mills.
It's funny you say that because Ravi had mentioned that earlier too. He's like, there's kind of like an excitement that comes from Isaiah, but it's also like, it's just conversational. It's funny you picked up on that too. His demeanor yesterday. I don't think we got a lot of that last year.
No, and maybe that's just the example of somebody that was new to Nebraska and had transferred in, trying to find their footing to a year later, having played under Matt Rule, being familiar with the offense, familiar with Dana, and then familiar with Lincoln and, what Nebraska football means to the state and to everybody that supports the program. So Isaiah just seems so incredibly comfortable just kind of being a spokesperson. And you wonder, of course, Calandria has a little pizzazz to him, and he's very comfortable in front of the cameras and in front of the microphones. But outside of Anthony, who's really the vocal leaders? Who are we going to see on a consistent basis throughout the season, whether they're talking about wins or whether they're talking about losses? Because, for the last couple of years, there was one person that pretty much represented the offense every single week. And now I'm not quite sure who that voice is going to be, but I think just in the span of, a 90-minute media session, it became pretty clear to me that whether it's Anthony or not, Isaiah's probably going to be in front of the microphone pretty regularly in the 2026 season.
You bring up Calandria, and I found it interesting. We've only heard from him a couple times, but You said he's good in front of the camera, but he's also pretty, he doesn't elaborate a whole lot. It's pretty short. He just you kind of get this, I just want to go play football, go work kind of mentality. Do you think that temperament from him, especially walking into this atmosphere, is going to be a good thing for all the attention that you get here being the quarterback in Nebraska?
I think it's going to be a great thing. And that's a great question, because I even had one of my colleagues after the press conference yesterday ask about Anthony. She happened to be watching the press conference as it was happening and just recognized how quick his answers are. And I even responded that, like, when you're interviewing Anthony Calandria, not that we've done it a ton, but on our few opportunities, you better be ready for the next question, because he will end his answer fairly quickly. And I answer your question, Avery, that I think it's a great thing, because I think he's going to steer clear of anything that gets too far out of context or too far like in the weeds that somebody could misconstrue. It's like, the question is, what do you think? His answer is answer, period. And there's not a whole lot else. And that doesn't mean that he's being rude or cold or he's being media trained. And I think that was part of the insinuation of the question I got yesterday, was like, does Matt Rule kind of already have him trained up to not give too much? I just think that's how he is. You know, he's got a little bit of that, you know, if you didn't know any different, you would think that Anthony Calandria is from California. He's just got a little bit of that West Coast vibe. Granted, he's familiar with the beach, grew up in Florida, right? But there's just a little air about him. I call it pizzazz. Some people call it swagger. I even saw somebody post on social media, he's got aura, as the kids call it. I just think that's kind of who he is. He's comfortable in his skin. He'll answer your questions. He's respectful. But at the end of it, he's all ball. He just wants to go play. And I think that he's going to truly let what he does on the field do most of the talking for what his answers may potentially be.
Kevin, you mentioned some of the attributes that you picked up from Anthony Calandria, and I'm curious, because some of those matter to me and some of them don't. And it's not a you thing, but like when I'm listening to a quarterback, one of the things you mentioned, or anybody for that matter, is when I feel like a guy's really comfortable in their own skin, I like their chances, right? Like that's a thing that just hits to me where I go, okay, if you're comfortable being you, I like your chances to be successful, regardless if it's football, basketball, interviewing somebody for a job, whatever. What are some of the things when you're listening? Because again, some of it's media training, some of it's, you know, coach speak, whatever. What are some of the things that when you hear it, you're like, hey, that's a thing I actually think matters and translates to the football field?
Well, I think my opinion on that has maybe changed over the years, because I rewind to when Casey Thompson was Nebraska's quarterback. And, you know, Casey's kind of the opposite of Anthony Calandria. And I love Casey too, and I thought he was a really good quarterback. But when he was in front of the media, if you asked him a question about, you know, a specific scenario or reading cover, like he would give such a thorough, like in the playbook, learn.
Did we lose Kevin here?
I think we did.
Okay, let's try and this might be an internet issue on his end there. Let's try and get Kevin back there. I am interested to see what his answer to that question is, though, because especially bringing the Casey Thompson thing, because I genuinely don't know where he was going. So I'm fascinated to find out where that answer comes in, because I do think, and this isn't, people are going to read this as a shot at Dylan, and it's not. I just do think there's certain things, whether it's a quarterback, that's part of the things I liked about Isaiah, right? Isaiah just seemed super comfortable talking, right? Yeah. Like he wasn't really pulling punches. He was like, hey, Andrew Marshall's the best quarterback in the country. Corner in the country. I'm trying to get ready for the NFL. Like he was very straightforward and just very much, I like it when people, I sort of like it when people back themselves into a corner. Because it was sort of the same thing with Rule, like, hey, we're not here to go 7-6. That doesn't leave him a lot of options, right? That basically means he needs to win 8 games this year. And I'm fine with that. Yeah. I like it when guys put themselves in a position to say, hey, this is what we expect, this is what we want, and this is what we're prepared to achieve, as opposed to, and listen, it's fine, just be like, oh, hey, we're going to do our best, we like our chances, we're a good team, whatever. But when you put some, it gives me a different level of, hey, we're confident in ourselves, we're comfortable in our own skin, like I was talking to Kevin about, or asking Kevin about.
Which I think we have Kevin back.
like let's get the rest of that answer, because Kevin, can you start with the Casey Thompson part again as part of the answer to that question?
Yeah, I apologize for that. I know if you guys didn't know any better, you would think it was Monday, but it's not Monday. So sorry about the technical issue there. We'll try to do this again. The question, Ravi, you were asking me about is, one of the things that appeals to you is quarterbacks that are comfortable in the skin. What do I look for? And I was sharing that Casey Thompson, he would really go X's and O's. And I felt like I learned so much about football and reading defense and pre-snap stuff when I talked to Casey Thompson, because he was so knowledgeable about the game, and I like that. But that doesn't necessarily indicate to me that somebody's a really good quarterback. In the instance of Casey, I think he was a pretty good quarterback. Anthony doesn't give a whole lot of that, and it doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback. And so I don't know that like a really thought out X's and O's football 401 answer necessarily means that you're going to be good. I think what means you're going to be good is just somebody that can make plays, simply. And whether that's with your feet, with your arms, and you don't have to be a great communicator to be good at whatever you do. You think about people that are, working a blue collar job. You don't have to be a leader to be a really good employee. You can just go about your business and be efficient and, a very valuable employee. So I think in the instance of Anthony, you're probably not going to get a whole lot. You're probably not going to learn a whole lot about like him in his personal life, or you're probably not going to learn a whole lot about, Dana's playbook. But if you're going to learn something, it's going to have to be with your eyes and what you see on Saturdays with him wearing a Nebraska uniform. I don't think it just it's not going to come from his mouth, because that doesn't give a whole lot. And I think that you guys in your social circles too, there's probably people that, I'm not going to say Anthony's quiet, but you're around quiet people. That doesn't mean they're shy. Sometimes they just don't want to speak a whole lot. That's fine.
Yeah, I do think it is authentically who he is. And that's why I've found his temperament in this atmosphere to be intriguing. And I want to ask you too, because we've heard the same message from TJ Lateef multiple times now since he has gotten his opportunity last fall. I have a ton of respect for TJ, the mentality that he had coming into this program, knowing he wasn't going to step in and play right away. He gets an opportunity last fall. They bring in another guy. You hear him in the spring. He had no thoughts of going anywhere else. And then you hear his mentality when it comes to this fall, going to competition and everything that this quarterback room does. When you look at, having Anthony in that room and TJ in that room and Danny in that room, how do you think the temperament of Anthony and then the mentality of TJ, and then obviously having a guy who has so much pride in being at Nebraska and Danny, obviously, of course, they all have starts, but how does the mentality of that room foster one another, you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm so glad you brought up TJ Lateef, because, man, he is a breath of fresh air, especially in perhaps the most cutthroat position in the sport of football. Yet he maintains this attitude of gratefulness, positivity, and optimism. The fact that he says, I'm just blessed to wake up every day and do something I love to do. I mean, that's important for anybody to hear, not just a football fan, not just a Nebraska fan, but just anybody. And, if we can all apply that to our lives, we're probably a better society. And I love the fact that TJ came up to the preseason press conference and that Nebraska's media folks, made sure that happened, because, let's be honest, he's not the presumed starter. But he's going to be a valuable part of this team. So to answer your question, Avarie, like I just think with TJ, he's got that positivity. With Anthony, quick with words, but he's got so much energy, and it's pretty contagious across Nebraska's locker room and on the field. And then Danny, you just got a guy who like bleeds red. He's through and through a Husker. It's why he came back. So they're all different personalities. It's very intriguing that like that's Nebraska's quarterback room, and it's perhaps the most experienced quarterback room in college football. But I think that could play well, especially if TJ just has that mentality of I'm going to compete for the job, but I know that Nebraska brought in the Mountain West Player of the Year probably to play games, not to sit on the bench. But it's his responsibility to always be ready, because he might be needed. And when that opportunity comes, he's going to be ready. And also just to breathe life into the guy that's playing in front of him. And I think that, if that's the situation that plays out for Nebraska, I could easily see TJ Lateef being the guy in the ear and constantly encouraging his teammate, because that's just the way that he presents himself. And, if he truly loves just being a part of football and getting to play every single day, like, he's going to want what's best for, the team that he's a part of. And who knows where the season could go.
Kevin, I'm fascinated by the mentality of a guy like TJ Lateef, right? Because on the one hand, I think people want the self-awareness and the patience, especially in today's college football where, guys don't start, they transfer immediately and try and find a place to play and assume the grass is always greener. On the other side, you want a guy that's hyper competitive and wants to win the job and believes in himself in a way that you're like, hey, I could be the starter today. Like, for you personally, how do you kind of weigh those two things against each other? Because they seem to be like they could be at odds a lot of the time.
Oh, gosh. Robbie, break that down a little bit more for me here. I want to make sure I'm answering this correctly.
Absolutely. So, like, if you're TJ Lateef, right, you want a guy that's hyper competitive that goes in there and says, hey, if you bring a guy to replace me or a guy to start over me, really, which is what they did with Calandria, part of you wants that guy to say, hey, I could take this job. I could be the guy right now. The other part of you probably wants a guy to have enough patience and self-awareness to say, hey, I might not be ready yet. This is a good situation for me to be ready a year from now or 2 years from now. Like, how do you weigh wanting that confidence and competitiveness versus wanting that patience and self-awareness?
It's all kind of about the makeup of the individual, right? That's why it's so important when you're recruiting or you're building your roster, you're getting the right people. Because if you have somebody that, comes in to be the number two, but truly in their heart, they want to be the number one, and, they'll fight and scrap and claw to be number one. And if they don't get it, they're going to kind of pout. And that's why I think TJ Lateef is probably the perfect person to be in the seat that he's in right now. And to draw a parallel to Nebraska volleyball with this situation, look at the setter spot. Campbell Flynn could be starting at any college volleyball program in America right now, but yet she hasn't started regularly for Nebraska, and she's entering her junior year. This is incredible. Did we see Campbell, not ready to contribute at any point in time? Have we seen Campbell, wanting her team to fail? No, like she's all in. She wants Nebraska to win. And, Bergen Riley's ahead of her. It's the Big Ten Player of the Year and will likely be challenging to be National Player of the Year again this year. So, again, that only works with Nebraska volleyball if you have Campbell willing to invest in the team and understand that she's just a spoke in the wheel. And that's where, character identification and getting to know families and understanding, what really motivates players, why it's so incredibly important when you're recruiting, when you're out in the portal and you're trying to find the right people. Because you hear coaches talk about that all the time, about like perfect culture fit. Because sometimes players can be really good additions and address a need, but if they're not a culture fit, then it actually works against you. I think Nebraska basketball will admit too that they kind of ran into that multiple times over the past decade or so, that there were players that were brought in and there were big hopes and you thought that maybe they could help Nebraska turn the corner, but at the end of it, it didn't quite mesh with what was happening internally. But last year, that's the opposite. They had all these guys, maybe they're not the most overly talented individuals, but they were all about the team. They were all about the culture. They were about their brothers, their teammates, and look at the bonding that's happened and just the transformation of Nebraska basketball's locker room. That's one of the things that makes you so quickly root for a team, is when you see that they're in it for the team and everybody's willing to play their role.
That is Kevin Suits from 1011 News in Lincoln. Kevin, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it as always. Great stuff. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good to see you guys. And by the way, I got the mug with the Cubs, and too bad DB's not there to see it because his team took an L last night and it hurt.
I mean, between your Cubbies getting Tarek Skubal in his debut and my Red Sox sweeping them right before that, it's a great day to not be a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, and both of our teams got pretty good pickups at the deadline. So it's like baseball season just kind of hit the the boost button, and all of a sudden now we're going to sprint toward the finish line.
All right, Kevin, I'll see you in the World Series. All right.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
That's Kevin Suits from 1011 News in Lincoln. Let's take a quick break. We will be back for hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live. Everyone's talking about peptides. You are doing it right. At NextGen Male Medical Clinic, peptide treatments are clinician guided, tailored to your goals, monitored for safety. Call today or visit nextgenmmc.com.
I admire Allison Widener so much.
Oh, just tell me about it.
The way she's come back year after year and just has dealt with this. And I mean, she could hang it up. No one would blame her if she decided to never play basketball again. What have you learned from her?
Oh, I've learned so much. I actually get chills when I think about her just because she's been such a great leader for me, and she attacks every single day. And whether or not that's rehab, whether or not she gets to, play a little bit of practice here and there, she just does it all with an attack mindset, and she gives it her all no matter what she's doing. And like I said, her leadership off the court is just, it's insane. And she treats all of us like we're her little kids. We call her grandma just because she's been here for a little while, but she treats all of us like we're her own, and she leans into us whenever we're struggling and picks us up, hypes us up when we do something good. And so just really leans into us as people and finds ways to make those connections, and that obviously relationships build on the court. So
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I mean, it's a great room. It's like one of those things that I think like iron sharpens iron. I mean, those are great quarterbacks. So as we go out to practice every day, or when we were in the spring, those are great quarterbacks that I'm going up against. So it's just iron sharpens iron, just getting better off each other.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by NextGen Male Medical. Don't forget to give our friends over at NextGen a call, 402-614-9700. We've got Pinnacle Bank Championship coming up over the next few days. I'm sure by the end of Sunday, I might need a little vitamin shot, maybe a little IV to get back and ready to go for Monday.
Why do you say that?
They've got a little beverage out there at the Pinnacle Bank Championship.
Inform me. Never heard of it.
It's called the Goose on the Loose. And by the time Sunday rolls around, the geese are pretty lease, all right? So you may need a little help getting your boy ready to go on Monday morning after 4 days of goosing and loosing, all right? So
4 days of it.
Well, we're out there the whole time, man.
Okay,
You know, you gotta be in the Hurrdat Pavilion. You gotta hang out with Nick from NextGen will be out there. We're gonna hang out with Nick.
Wow. Are they bringing IVs to the course?
I might be like, hey, bud, I need you to bring some out for me. Depends on how the first couple days go. But give them a call, whether you got a long weekend like we do, or you just need to get feeling a little bit more like yourself. Give them a call, 402-614-9700. Brandon says, Goose on the Loose season.
Our Brandon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. is Goose on the Loose season. I see a lot of happy people behind the TV right now. You
Listen,
really should go out to Pinnacle Bank Championship if you've never gone.
Oh, it's listen, I'm not even I'm fine with golf, right?
Yeah.
But I'm independently, I'd probably never be like, hey, I really want to go see a golf tour event, whatever. But it is, whether you love golf, don't love golf, there's literally something for everybody.
100%. And if you haven't been out to Indian Creek recently, highly suggest you go.
Oh my God. The renovations are incredible.
The renovations are incredible. There's options for everyone, no matter what ticket you bought. They have an awesome little walk-up window now, a part of the clubhouse that's available to everyone, where you can they have like canned cocktails. It's really cool.
Oh,
if anyone's
I haven't
interested,
seen those yet.
Yeah, if you go look at Pinnacle Bank Championship Instagram, they're up there, and it's like they make the cocktail. It's like in a can. It's clear, really cool. Snacks, just little quick drinks. I think they actually have a thing right now. It's called like transfusions for charity or something.
Oh, okay.
You can buy alcohol for charity.
Win-win. Everybody wins.
Yeah, but there's a lot of elements this year. Hobbies is out there. There's new concessions on the course. The course is beautiful, obviously. But yeah, it really is the best time. Before us being a part of being involved with the Pinnacle Bank Championship, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't really know much.
I didn't know about it.
It truly is such a great time. And
I thought it was just a golf thing, but it's kind of a party.
It kind of is a party. And even if you want it to be a golf thing, it totally can be a golf thing.
Yes.
And Saturday's Family Youth Day, they've got like ice cream out there and face paint, and there's athletes that'll be a part of the putt-putt challenge. They just do a really good job of making it literally a very all-encompassing event, very community forward. And a lot of the funds that come in from this week go to different charities in the community.
A ton of them go to charity.
Yeah, so really, really cool. And there's some former champions that are here this year. You literally get to see the stars of the future, which is pretty cool.
Scotty Scheffler's literally missed the cut here.
Yes.
That's the thing that's happened. So
yeah, and it's pretty cool. You have the opportunity, the following week to be back on the course again and be on the course that these pros are playing in. It's a legit course. Obviously, if you're from Omaha, you know that. But
especially if you play it coming up to championship week, that thing is taxing.
The last few months, if you've been on that course, But yeah, it really is a great time.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, and like you said, whether you're super into golf, there's something for you. Whether you're super casual like me, there's something for you. Or if you literally just want to party, there's something for you. There's concerts.
Yep, concerts after, Friday, Saturday.
It's a ton of fun.
Great food on the course.
I'm glad that work forced me to understand what this thing was all about, because I literally just thought it was like, oh, it's a golf thing. That's not really for me. And it's like, nope, this is like the last big event of the summer
100%.
In Omaha.
Yep.
It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. And I think the regular restaurants open to the public as well.
If you have a Clubhouse Plus ticket,
okay,
you get to go downstairs. Their new sand room. They've got golf simulators down there. Really awesome food. Really cool environment.
And then upstairs, I don't know if it's open during the week.
It's a great question. I don't know which parts.
But if it's not, you need to go out there at a different time anyway, because the food up there is incredible.
Yeah, the new pro shop's wonderful.
Yeah.
To be determined on that concert on Thursday, Brendan. Minor update. Update. Friday and Saturday? Yes.
For sure.
Scotty McCreery, if you're a country fan.
That's a name I've heard of.
But not Ravi's.
I have heard the name, though. So that's, if I know who the name is, even, that's impressive for a country artist.
It's Scotty McCreery and Lauren Elena on Friday, and then it is Wyatt Flores and, give me a hot second, something Culpepper.
Dante?
Hold on.
Dante Culpepper?
Wait.
To Randy Moss?
I need to find the name.
Yeah, that's a tutty all day.
Cassius Culpepper and Wyatt Flores on
Cassius
Saturday.
Culpepper's an incredible name.
Yeah, it isn't. Yeah.
Cassius Culpepper sounds like the best wide receiver of all time. You're just doing a Muhammad Ali thing with the boxing, Rico. Don't do that. What about Cassius Winston? He was a basketball player, Michigan State. No? Cassius Stanley, I think, a basketball player for Duke. There are a lot of Cassiuses around. I'm just saying. Cassius Culpepper is a elite name.
Well, you can go watch him perform on Saturday night if you're interested.
I just might.
Huge country fan over here. I actually don't know if that. I don't know if that's his role. Actually,
I would assume. I think they were all country last year, weren't they?
Saturday was more kind of like a rock vibe. It was kind of like, remember that guy that? Were you there on Saturday or just Friday?
I don't remember. I was there one of them. Just Friday.
Friday. Okay, so Friday was concert or
Friday was country. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a good time.
They get some pretty. They have some pretty legit artists come.
Yeah.
To these events.
I mean, if I've heard of Scotty McCreery, like that's impressive.
He's who performed after the stadium match at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Maybe that's why I've heard of him. That would make sense. I'm not a big country fan. This is not an indictment on any of the artists. This is an indictment on me. Yeah, Willie says he was the volleyball match guy.
Yeah.
You wanted to return to the TJ Lateef
a little bit
of it all. I think Austin has the clip.
I never had a mindset of redshirting or 5 for 5, where I just had a mindset just having fun and being blessed to be here at Nebraska.
Being able to play like Penn State and USC and Utah and Iowa, what did you gain? I know those games didn't go your way in some cases, but what did you gain from that last year as you reflect on it now?
Confidence. I feel like I gained a lot of confidence, and I gained just like a great understanding of the game. I mean, those are great football teams that I faced, and I feel like I just gained more confidence and more understanding.
Did it give you a pretty good taste of what it's going to take to play at the highest level?
Yes, for sure.
When you look at camp, how do you avoid looking too far down the road and taking it one day at a time? Because you can get lost in the competition factor and all that stuff. How do you take each day in its own separate deal?
I mean, I love football. Football is fun to me at the end of the day. So just being able just to wake up every morning and do what I love to do most, I mean, that's all I can ask for.
I loved that yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's nothing different than what we haven't heard from him. But I think it goes maybe underappreciated if you haven't been in those shoes before, to truly love the sport that you're playing when you're playing it at this level. I think everyone just assumes, oh, you're playing a college sport, like you must love what you do. I think you'd be surprised how many
are just good at it.
Or it's just what they've always done.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, my first 6 months as a collegiate athlete, I understand. I always was like, how are people going to commit to a college and then they just quit after their first semester?
Yeah.
My first 6 months, I was like, I understand why people quit. Like, if you don't love this, like, this is no longer the 3 practices a week that you go to after school. This is no longer 2 lifting sessions that you do with your teammates, whatever. This is an every single thing you do element. And I think you have to have a certain perspective to have TJ's take. I think that's a learned behavior as well. Like I just think it's understated how important loving this sport is. And I think that's an overarching theme from the players on this team this year as well. Like, they genuinely love football. And I think it sounds so silly. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, duh. It's like, no, I've had teammates in the past that they don't watch the sport they play. When they're not around the sport, they don't want anything to do with it, where you have to have people that are obsessed with it in a way to get to the level that you want to achieve. So then to have your essentially quote unquote backup quarterback bringing that energy every single day, where he has a joy and a passion to not just be there, but he loves this sport to make the players around him better. I don't know if that part's getting appreciated enough. We all love his mentality.
Yeah.
But he genuinely loves football. And I think if you haven't been in that position, I don't know if you know how important that element is.
Yeah, how important it is, and how, I don't want to say that it's uncommon, but less common than you would think, right? Like you were saying.
100%.
Like we talked about, or we had a couple years ago, I remember Coach Rule talking about, I just want guys that love football, whether it's his assistant coaches, whether it's, whether it's players that he's recruiting. We heard Trev Alberts talk about it when he was talking about looking for a head coach, about, I need a football junkie, right? I want a guy that loves football, that is obsessed with football. And it is to your point, I think it's a really easy trap for programs in the place where Nebraska is to fall into. And I think it's, and DB and I have talked about this, I think, and I think Coach Frost has admitted this to DB, I think that's one of the mistakes he made early, was trying to get the highest level of talent and not necessarily the right guys in, right? Getting guys in that are super talented, that either aren't really competitive or don't love football or don't really want to be here. Again, we talked about how hesitancy makes a person look unathletic. Having that mindset, or not having the right mindset of being on a college football team at a high major level where there's real expectations, that will make you look a lot worse than you are too. That's, I think we've talked a million times about like, well, Nebraska's not very good at developing some of these guys. It's like, I get that the physical talent was there with a lot of these guys, but there's a reason that Iowa takes 3 stars and turns them into first rounders all the time. It's because they recruit the right 3 stars. They recruit the guys that love football and know what the end game is, and they know what it's supposed to look like. Yes, part of it is physical, right? When you don't have an identity on a football team, it's really hard to develop guys because you don't know what the finished product's supposed to look like. But it's also really hard to develop guys that just don't love football to put the work in, because that's the dirty little secret about all this. You mentioned the training and the nutrition and the practice and all of this stuff. But the guys that truly develop and get great, there's a lot of it that happens on their own, right? You might get the roadmap from your coaches or from Corey Campbell or from Coggins in the nutrition department and everything like that. But a lot of that you have to end up doing on your own, even if they tell you what you need to do. And if you're not a guy that loves football, it's really easy to be like, hey, I'm Quinn Clark, I'm trying to put on weight, but like, I'm tired of eating. I'm going to skip a meal, right? Or I'm Cortez Mills, and I'm looking at things and I go, oh, listen, Jacory's going to play ahead of me, and Isaiah's going to play ahead of me, and Quasi's going to play ahead of me. Like, I probably don't need to go catch balls with Anthony Calandria at 10 o'clock at night. Like, that's probably not something I need to do. If you love football, though, you're out there anyway, right? Doesn't matter if you're first string, fourth string, whatever. And that's why I think, TJ is a really good example of this, right? Like, if everything goes right, TJ probably won't start a game this year, right? Like, if everything goes according to plan, he probably won't start a game this year. But to still have the mindset of, listen, I can make this room better, I can make this university better, I can make this program better, I can make this football team better. That is the mindset of guys where it's like, hey, TJ might not have been the 5-star coming out of high school, but he's the right mentality and, frankly, the right skill set, I think, for Dana Holgorsen to be better than whatever we thought his ratings were coming into this. And that's something, I think part of that's when I talk about Curt Cignetti being an elite talent evaluator, that's part of it, right? It's not just, oh, he can do the thing I need him to do in his system, although that is part of it. Part of it's also he mentally, emotionally can thrive in the system that I'm going to put him in, and not just the system of, hey, this is what we run on offense, this is what we run on defense, but the program of this is what it means to play football under Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
And that is a place where I think a lot of coaches maybe just don't have the emotional intelligence to pick up on that in guys they're recruiting, to say, yep, this guy can hang with what we're going to ask him to do. And maybe they do have the emotional intelligence, but they compromise because they're like, oh, this guy's super talented. We got to take a chance here. And sometimes you can't take a chance, because taking a chance on talent versus taking a chance on temperament, I think you're rolling the dice way more on talent than you are on temperament. That's just me personally.
There was something that Coach Rule said, and I want to say it was maybe 2 off seasons ago when they were bringing in some guys out of the portal and how they are able to evaluate, what they're getting when you only get so much time with them. And he said, I think we've gotten to this point where I want players who want to be at Nebraska for what they can bring to Nebraska, not coming to Nebraska for what Nebraska can do for them. And I feel like that really stood out to me, because now when you look at some of the players that Nebraska has brought in, following some of those statements or following some of the seasons, you look at, Jameer Khan, for a perfect example, comes from an FCS program, right? Like, he's, from what it sounds like, one of the last guys leaving, or the guy that's getting everyone to go do extra work or turning the lights on at Hawks. And then you have guys like an Andrew Marshall coming from Idaho, or you even have these really intelligent players coming from a San Diego State. Yeah, they're following Rob Orich and they're great players, but they weren't in the Big Ten previously. They weren't in the SEC previously. And they're the guys that are the ringleaders of doing more or leading the group to understand things to another level. And I think it goes back to that point. It's these guys that have a hunger for an opportunity. And now that they've finally even gotten the opportunity, it's what they do with it, because they know what it's like to not have that opportunity. They weren't in high school and Nebraska wasn't looking at them yet, or they weren't in high school and had all these offers. And so they don't take the platform of being in front of a Nebraska fan base or in the Big Ten lightly. And it's interesting to have a TJ Lateef kind of do that without having to go through that process or those steps. He's not coming from an SEC or an FCS program. He's not coming from a JUCO program or a D2. He chose Nebraska from the get-go. And I think in part of that clip, he's like, I'm just blessed to wake up every single day and play football for Nebraska, at Nebraska. And so I think when you have the melting pot of those perspectives in this locker room right now, I'm really interested to see how it plays out on the field this season when that's the temperament you're getting from multiple players on different sides of the ball.
I do think it's interesting with TJ, even though he wasn't exactly in the situation you described with coming from a smaller school or anything like that, within the realm of where he fits into Nebraska and the quarterback room, at least from a fan perspective, he has been a little bit of an afterthought.
100%.
You know, like he came in the year after Dylan, and it's like, okay, well, he's probably never going to play because we've got Dylan. And then I think by the time the season started last year, Trey had already committed.
Yep.
So you go, okay, well, we go from Dylan to Trey, and TJ is just like, hey, thanks for being a backup, but I hope you have good luck at your next school. Right? Like that was sort of the mentality of the fan base. And then, you know, obviously Dylan gets hurt. We see TJ, and he plays really well against UCLA, and then gets banged up and kind of struggles in some other games. But that's a guy where even not having gone through some of those things still has been overlooked and basically passed over in the minds of some people. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he starts at Nebraska. I don't think Nebraska wants to start a true freshman again in Trey Taylor when he comes in. I also don't know, you know, Anthony Calandria is going to have an opportunity to come back now, I believe, with the 5-for-5 ruling. So that's like the dynamic of that room just got really interesting 100%. In the last few weeks, really, as that started to play out. But even if TJ Lateef is never the full-time starting quarterback at Nebraska, having that guy in your program is beneficial. Yeah. I think that's the thing sometimes we forget about guys on the roster, just because they never are, you know, either starting quarterback or a black shirt or whatever. You know, they bring like what was the dude's name? The safety.
Phelan?
Yeah, Phelan Sanford. Like, that's a guy who played a lot of special teams, got in some on defense, right? But I feel like that was an important guy for the culture of Nebraska and the culture of that defense. Even if you never end up being the star or the starter or whatever, having guys like that in, like, up and down your roster, you know, DB's talked about competitive depth quite a bit, I think is hugely beneficial. And I think TJ is a really good example of that. We don't usually see that in the quarterback room, especially in modern college football, because it's like, hey, if I'm good, I'm just going to go start somewhere else. And maybe that ends up being the case, but I think having him in your room for a couple of years is nothing but beneficial for Nebraska.
Yeah, nonetheless, I just ton of respect for his mindset and how consistent. It's not like it's changed or TJ's been TJ, the same guy through and through, and I think it only benefits that room, and I think it benefits the whole team. Yeah, 100%. And I think I'm just fascinated by how this plays out with him and Calandria, and it seems like and we haven't even brought in the benefits of having like a Daniel Kaelin in the room, right? Who, a guy that just is very talented, right? And just loves being here. A dude that just loves the program in like a pretty selfless way, honestly, which I think is, I don't know. I think that's going to reap benefits at some point, and we may never hear the full stories about it, but like, I'm very, very happy he's back in the room and back at Nebraska. He's like probably your favorite kind of guy. He's one, honestly, like I really ride with a guy that's just, I mean, it's the same reason I was mad at Dylan yesterday. It's the opposite of that, right? Like, that's what I said. Daniel Kaelin is just like that's a Nebraska dude. He rides for Nebraska. He gave himself a shot at Virginia, and he's like, you know what? I'd rather be back home. I'd rather be back at Nebraska and be a part of what they're doing, even if it's not necessarily the best scenario for me personally. I think there's something I can bring to the table here, and I want to be a part of what they're doing at Nebraska. Like, I'll ride with a guy like that all day. And it's cool when you see guys that aren't from here kind of be that way too. That's the cool thing about TJ is, like, he's from California. He doesn't have to be like that. Like, we expect a guy like Danny Kaelin to be like that, even though a lot of the guys from Nebraska aren't like that, by the way. Like, guys that are born here aren't necessarily for us, right? We've seen that multiple times, whether it's players, coaches, whoever, ADs, whoever, right? But, like, Oh no.
It's less common than we think. That's part of the reason I ride with Rule so hard, right? Like that dude wants to be here. He loves being here. He wants to be a part of making Nebraska a great football program again. Like if that's your huge priority, if like that's your number one priority, like I'll figure out a way to ride with you. Like I sit here, I understand that there's questions about Daniel Kaelin's ability to be a starting quarterback at high major football. I get that. How dare you, Rico? How dare you? Once they graduate, they're Nebraska guys, all right? Nebraska guys. Like, I'm a big Jet Tamala guy now, too. I'm not a big Millard South guy, all right? You know I love Jet.
You can always change.
I like his dad, too.
You can be.
Jet's dad. No, I will never change. Never.
Are you sure?
100%. Roll Stangs, baby.
That's like a sin, isn't it? Like if you were to be a Millard North guy trying to do anything for Millard South.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just absolutely not. Just that's a honestly, I dislike Millard West less than I dislike Millard South. There's a hierarchy of my Millard dislike for sure.
Okay, wait, say that again. You dislike Millard South more.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on.
I dislike Millard West less than I dislike Millard South. So it's on the hate scale, it's Millard South then Millard West.
What if in the future you had a relative go to the school that you don't like?
They'd be dead to me. I'd tell them to transfer. We have open enrollment here in Nebraska. You can go to the right place. That's all. That's
like Bellevue West.
No, well, Bellevue West is better than Millard South in terms of like my dislike hierarchy. But just saying.
How many Millard South football games will you be attending this fall?
Oh, probably several.
Mhm.
I mean, it's going to be. Well, they play Millard North week 1, so definitely we'll be at that one. No, there'll probably be a lot. Like, I like Trey Taylor a lot. He's been on the show. I like the way he rides for the program. Like, this dude he's from the Chicago area. He's choosing to live here a year early. Like, I'll ride with that guy. I hope he has a phenomenal year and that they lose to Millard North
in the finals.
And and then they
That's what you're gonna say.
And then they lose to somebody in the finals. I hope he has a great year, that they win a lot of games, just not against Millard North and not for the state championship. That's all. They could have a really nice 10-2. We'd be good.
Okay. So what was your disdain at one point for Millard West? Was it ever higher than Millard South? Sorry, I'm learning.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yes, in high school, in high school, I probably disliked the sports teams of Millard West more because they were better.
Okay.
But I knew I had more friends at Millard West.
Okay.
So as far as actual disdain, Millard West and at least when I was there, Millard West and Millard North kind of. A lot of us went to middle school together, and that wasn't the case for the Millard South kids. So sometimes we would kind of team up against the Millard South kids. That was sort of the hierarchy there. But Millard West was just better at sports at that time, so there was some sports hatred there for sure.
Okay.
But the actual vitriol we always saved for Millard South. They're also the longer standing rival. They've been Millard South was the first high school in
that
Millard.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then Millard North was the second. Millard West didn't come in until the mid 90s. So
okay.
It's a little bit, they're kind of the new. I mean, not anymore, but they were the new kid on the block. They were only 10 years old when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Because I'm very old, but it's fine.
My cousins went to Millard West, so I had a little bit of feel of how they were at football a little bit ago, and they were decent.
Yeah.
So I didn't know but there's you guys only have 3 in the district, which is a little bit weird.
In
to me.
Millard, yes.
Yeah.
There's obviously
you only get to choose one school that you hate. It's weird.
It's plenty. It's plenty of hate to go around.
See, our school district, there's 5, so
Okay.
everyone basically had we all had different hatreds.
Okay,
essentially.
I feel like that's kind of like OPS.
Yeah.
Or Lincoln, where you kind of get to pick your. Although West Side and Prep is their thing. That's their big one.
Makes sense.
DB gets in trouble every time he wears blue inside the halls there over at West Side. So
yeah, I understand.
It's like, hey, knock it out. He was wearing his Next Gen thing one day and got in trouble.
Jump scare, probably a jump scare, honestly.
They were like, hey, what you wearing blue for?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the hierarchy is definitely Millard South on the top of the food chain in terms of dislike. Although in high school, the team we probably disliked the most was Creighton Prep.
Fair.
Which I think everybody hates Creighton Prep a little bit.
Yeah.
That didn't go there.
Yeah.
Everybody in the metro.
We have one of those down south too, so I understand.
Everybody in the metro is kind of like, eh.
Sorry, Brad. Robbie's not, but
I'm not. I mean, I don't dislike them now, but they've also been down for a little bit in several sports. So It was a big football, baseball thing in high school. They were the kind of like the top dog besides Miller North, always. Speaking of dogs, we're going to talk to Scott Eklund of dogman.com to get a little insight on Washington. They had a very interesting offseason. I feel like Damon Williams might come up. I don't know. We'll see. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi. We'll be right back. More Hurrdat Sports Live after this.
Yeah, I mean, I love him to death. Harper Bergen, Laney, and I, we have just become so close, and now we have year 4, most special relationship, and we've worked really hard on building that. So I'm just really grateful for them, and I wouldn't want to do it without them, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other class. We've become so close, and we're like sisters now. So not that, they've like literally been my sisters since the first day we stepped on campus. We all clicked right away. So I'm just really grateful that I get to do it with them.
If losing weight is harder than you expected, it's not just about willpower. At Next Gen Male Medical Clinic, we build a supervised plan around your body, not someone else's. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Let's get you moving forward.
My first moment was here during spring practice. Out of nowhere, I remember I talked to him a few times, but obviously when you just got here, everybody seemed new to you. But we get in the huddle, obviously I'm listening to the play and everything, and he's going to look at me. I was like, you all right, man? I was like, yeah, I'm all right. And usually with a quarterback that's, worried about getting the call out and all that, he goes so quick, but he took the time to acknowledge if I was okay and make sure I was right. And from that point on, I knew he was a detailed guy and somebody that I could trust on, and that's something that I carry with me from the spring until now, and it shows up. So I'll say that.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Kind of have an interesting end of this in Nebraska.
Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Male Medical. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Scott Eklund from dogman.com to talk a little Washington Huskies football. Scott, how are we doing right now?
Great. And hey, I got to tell you something. And this will be a real quick story, but I was listening to your discussion about your hatred of former high school rivals, prep rivals. And there was a guy that I used to play against. I played soccer against him. I played football and basketball against him. And we just could not stand each other. I ended up going to a show when I'm in college at the University of Washington. This is kind of when the grunge scene was really blowing up. He was apparently in a band, and I'm buying his CD and I'm drinking with him, having a beer with him after one of his shows. It's right before Soundgarden came on. They opened for Soundgarden, and we're having a beer at the bar. And I'm like, this guy looks really familiar, but I got his autograph on the CD that I bought, and then I saw that it was this guy that I absolutely couldn't stand, and so I threw away the CD. So I was like, I am not going to any more of these guys' shows. I'm not doing this stuff. So I totally feel for you with the hatred of people that go to rival schools.
I Scott, let's get into it here with Washington. They had kind of I think, an interesting offseason. Obviously, the DeMond Williams of it all. I just want to start there. What is your, I don't want to say level of concern, but how did you process that whole situation with him wanting to transfer, the Washington threatening to sue, getting him to come back? Like, internally within the program, how was that all processed now that he's back into the fold and they're starting quarterback?
And before I answer this question, I just want you guys to know, I totally get you guys have to ask the question. We haven't talked about it before, but I am so sick of answering this question. So, but basically, this was something that was run by people in his camp. For as mature as DeMond Williams is on the field and as much of a leader as he is still a guy who isn't even 20 yet. He won't be 20 until I think September or October. And he's just a guy who, there's some people who are really mature in their job, but they're very immature in their personal life and who they are. I don't want to say he's immature, that he's making dumb mistakes, but he just really listens to the people around him a lot more than he probably should. And they're the ones that went out and found this deal for him. We're all pretty sure it was LSU, Lane Kiffin, because he was a coach he was committed to when Kiffin was at Ole Miss. And then Arizona was able to swoop in, steal him, and then he transferred up to Washington, followed Jedd Fisch up. And we're pretty sure it was Lane Kiffin that offered him the kind of dough that could be kind of life-changing, $6.5 million over the little over $4 million that Washington was paying him. And so he signs the contract. The team announces that he's coming back for his junior year, and 2 days later he's in the portal. It sent everybody into a tailspin. Everybody was like, what's going on? We don't know what's going on. I talked to people within the program. They said, don't worry, he's coming back. This is just something that we're going to have to work through. I said it from the very beginning. Once he said he was coming back, it was going to be much easier to get the locker room and the coaches back in his corner than it was Husky Nation. And that's proven to be true. The players that I've talked to, the coaches I've talked to have all said it's a business decision. He made a mistake. They understood where he was coming from and just let it all kind of work out, kind of treated it like an NFL situation where holdouts and things like that. But the Husky Nation is going to take a lot longer for him to get back in his corner. And I'm just really not looking forward to him throwing that first pick or not playing well or struggling a little bit. And the fan bases, you could hear some boos at Husky Stadium this year from the Husky faithful. I think the coaches and players all have faith in him. I think the fan base is going to take longer to come around.
Okay, so we'll move past the DeMond Williams. I promise no more DeMond Williams.
No, you can ask DeMond questions. Just the off-season stuff is just like, I knew right when it happened, I'm like, crap, this is all we're going to be talking about as we lead up to the season, and there's so much more going on with him.
I do think there's a lot going on, not just with DeMond Williams, but also with the program in general. I don't want to get too don't want to get you too worked up here, but I do have to ask about Jedd Fisch. It seemed like there was a time in the offseason that he might be moving on as well. How real was that? I think there was Florida and maybe Michigan rumors as well with Jedd Fisch. How real is that? Is that a thing that people around Washington even think about, are worried about? How has that been in the offseason for Jedd Fisch?
I don't remember the number because it all started to come out when he was hired on at Washington, but it was something like he's had 15 jobs in 17 years or so. I mean, something ridiculous like that. So a lot of those were taking promotions. A lot of them were also, he worked for signed on with a coach for a year and then that coach got fired. So, there was a lot of reasons why he bounced around so much, but Do I think it was realistic that he was leaving? No, I did not. I did not think that a program like Michigan or a program like Florida would go after a coach who, is just a little over 60% wins at Washington in his time here, and not even that. I don't even think he was quite at 60%, and so. I just had a hard time seeing them really go after and pursue him. I'm not saying there wasn't some inquiries, some kicking the tires by those schools, but I think Jed is kind of at Washington. I don't want to say for the long haul. I don't know if he'll be here, much past 5 or 6 years, but I could see him being around Montlake for at least a few more years, even after Damon Williams leaves. I think he knows that he's building things. One of the things that you got to remember when these coaches are looking around and looking at other jobs, Jed Fish, I believe he just turned 50, and he is a guy who had to work really hard to build Arizona up. He got them to 10 wins, only their second or third 10-win season in program history. Gets them to 10 wins. Then he comes up to Washington that had just been gutted when Kalen DeBoer left, by graduation, by also transfers and everything like that. So he's had to slowly build this program back up to where he wants it to be, and to be a Big Ten roster that could handle the rough and tumble Big Ten every week. And he's done that, and I think he's got a roster that he feels that he can go into the Big Ten and be very competitive with this year. Possibly, I think Washington is firmly in that middle tier of the Big Ten, but they have a chance if Damon Williams can elevate his play, and maybe we'll talk about that here in a second. But I think he feels like this is a team that I could possibly get into that upper tier and possibly get into a playoffs. If he goes to now, Michigan has kind of already been, a pretty good team, but he would have had to go and build up Florida. They're talented, but that team, he would have to go in and build the culture all over again. And do you really want to do that when you've just turned 50? I just don't see that happening. I think his next job is as a coordinator or possibly a head coach, but probably more likely a coordinator in the NFL. I think his next job, unless some team really comes in, some program comes in and says, hey, we're willing to give you $15 million a year, which I just don't see happening. But unless that happens, I don't see him leaving for another college job.
Let's talk about that next part that you were just mentioning. What does elevated play from Damon look like this fall to you, and what you think this team needs from him?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to, I said it a little bit before, you just asked about it, him elevating the play of the team. The game against Ohio State early in the season, Washington's first loss at Husky Stadium, Washington stuck close to it. I think they only lost by, I think it was like 26-10 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that was a game that always seemed like Ohio State never really got out of second or third gear. It seemed like they could have gone, gangbusters on Washington if they really wanted to, but Washington held them in check, and for defensively, at least to a certain extent. But Damon Williams just did not elevate the team. Also against Oregon, that was a very winnable game for Washington. They were within 7 points late in the third to early fourth quarter, and he throws a pick, just a ridiculous pick at the goal line that basically ended any chance of them being able to come back and win that game. And games against Wisconsin, that was a loss right there, and the loss against Michigan where they were tied 7-7 heading into the fourth quarter, and he throws a pick deep in Husky territory, and that just really it was his, and he's the quarterback, so all this is going to get thrown on in his lap. But these were all games that he did not play well in. He did not make good decisions, and Washington ended up losing the game. The only one that I would have said Washington should have lost, on paper, should have lost those games is Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan. But the Wisconsin game, there's no excuse for Washington losing that game other than the fact that he didn't play well. He made some really bad decisions, and I think when you ask about what his elevation and what his next step looks like, it means elevating the team and making it so that they can win a game that maybe on paper they shouldn't.
So when you're looking at the roster outside of Damon Williams, obviously he gets a lot of the headlines for what he did last year and kind of his electric style of play as a dual threat quarterback. Where do you look at and say, hey, these are the units that I'm really, really confident are going to be good for Washington and can help lead them to a potential playoff berth versus the units you have the most question marks on?
The ones that I have the biggest confidence in would be the offensive line, the secondary, and the linebacker. Oh, I'm sorry, the linebackers, the offensive line and the linebackers. The secondary is kind of right in that middle zone because they've got 2 new starters on the outside, but their safeties look good. But the offensive line behind John Mills, who was a freshman All-American, Landon Hatchett, who's coming back from a hand injury that forced him to miss the second half of the season. They're returning 4 of the 5 starters from last season, and the one guy who is the brand new starter, Cody Green. He was a 5-star recruit out of Mater Dei, but he's actually from the Seattle area. And he started all of spring football at the left tackle spot, took all the first team reps, and he is a supremely talented kid. He's a freshman, so he's going to make some mistakes. But I really feel pretty confident about the offensive line. I feel they have enough depth now that if they do suffer some injuries, that they can withstand that at least for a few games. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious that keeps guys out. The other one is the linebackers. I think I could make an argument that the Washington Husky linebacker room is in the top 10 groups in the entire country. You have Exree Alexander, Zadrius Rainey-Soleil, and Jacob Manu, all who could be starting at other schools throughout the country. And one of those guys is going to have to sit because Washington typically only plays 2 linebackers. Now, they will move Exree around and Zadrius around a little bit. They'll put them on the edge, let them rush the quarterback a little bit and things like that. But for the most part, only 2 of those 3 are going to be able to play at any one time. And then you throw in a guy like Tariq Al-Ukta, who's coming off of a knee injury that he suffered in the Apple Cup last year. He should be healthy midway through the season. You're talking about 4 guys with starting experience who could be playing for most of the teams. I would say better than 80 to 90% of the teams in college football. They would be starters or at least very heavy contributors. So that's why I think that group and the offensive line are 2 of my most confident, that I have the highest confidence in. The ones that I have the least amount of confidence in, and it isn't because I think they stink or whatever. They have some very talented players, but they just haven't proven themselves. That's running back, wide receiver, and then defensive line. And the defensive line for Washington could be pretty darn good this year, but and they have some really talented freshmen that they've brought in. This last class of freshmen is just ridiculously talented, led by Derek Coleman Brusa, who was a 5-star, borderline 5-star, 4-star guy from the state of Washington, one of the biggest recruits that Washington brought in, 6'5", 295 pounds, can come in and do a lot of different things for you. He can even rush the passer as an edge guy at 295 pounds. That's how talented he is. He's just a freshman, but they've got Alinius Davis. They've got some other guys there on the interior. Darren Conley was a guy they brought in from Miami of Ohio. He looked excellent this spring. So I think there's some guys up front that could be good. They just haven't proven themselves yet. And then running back and wide receiver, you just have a lot of young guys. But, oh, my gosh, some of the talent that they've brought in, it's just really young and unproven at this point. I think they're going to be pretty good, but until we see it, those are the ones I have the biggest question marks at this point.
Scott, when you look at Washington's schedule this season, which area of the schedule maybe brings you the most concern? Is it some of the back-to-back road games, or is it the end of the season you get Indiana, Oregon back-to-back, or is it, even some of the earlier games where we know Minnesota can be kind of tricky and then you go on the road to LA? What part maybe are you looking at maybe some concern?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at Washington, you never want to take anything for granted, and the players and the coaches shouldn't be looking past anybody, but they should be 3-0 coming out of their non-conference games. There's no reason they shouldn't be 3-0. And then you start off with Minnesota. That is not an easy start to the Big Ten season, but if you just look at it on paper, and again, no games are played on paper, but if you just look at it on paper, Washington is the better team. They're more talented, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, all those different things, and it's a home game for Washington. So I think Washington's toughest home games are going to be Indiana, like you mentioned at the end of the season, second to last game before they go to Oregon. And then they've got Penn State at home. Penn State, I don't believe, has ever played at Husky Stadium, just like Washington had never played at Beaver Stadium before they played and got just absolutely destroyed on that whiteout night. So, those are kind of some games that I'm looking at. That game against Nebraska, I've said it several times. I've talked to people all over the country, ESPN, XM radio, everybody, and I said that game against Nebraska, Halloween night in Lincoln with 90,000 people screaming at the Huskies. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. And if Washington could come out of that with a win, I think that bodes well for them getting a double-digit win season, a 10-win season. But as it is, I think right now Washington could have a better team than last year, but have close to the same record of 8-4 regular season, 9-4 with a bowl game win. But I think a lot of it that Nebraska game, if they win it, I think they got a good chance at 10 wins. If they lose it, I think they're probably an 8-4 team.
Scott, I'll get you out here on this. You mentioned a couple different win totals there. What would be, from a fan perspective, what would you think is, hey, this is a successful season for Washington?
I think 9-3 would be pretty good. 9-3 regular season, and possibly being in the discussion for the college football playoff. 10-2 gets probably, in the Big Ten. 10-2 in the Big Ten probably gets you into the playoffs. If it doesn't, that means things have been really ridiculous around the rest of the country. So we'll have to see. But I think 9-3 is another step in the right direction. I think you could point to all the young players that Washington has brought in and played. And so now these guys are, Damon Williams would be entering his third full season as a starter. John Mills would be entering his third full season as a starter along the offensive line. With the 5-to-play-5, you would have Landon Hatchett coming back, very possibly. Drew Azzopardi could come back. And then Cody Green would be in his second year as a starter. So your offense would look really good. You've got so many young, talented players at wide receiver and at running back who are all going to be starters this year and get a lot of playing time. So I think you could look at that. Your secondary could be ridiculously talented. The only guy they would probably lose is Alex McLaughlin, and he could even come back with the 5-to-play-5 rule. So there's a lot of optimism, I think. So if Washington is able to be 9-3 or better, that's going to be considered a successful season. 8-4 is kind of like tying somebody, kiss your sister time. Anything under 8 wins, I think people are frustrated and maybe not looking to extend Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch needs to get an extension after this season. Does that happen with a 8-4, 7-5 season? I don't know. I don't know if it happens or not.
That is Scott Eklund from Dogman 24/7. Scott, appreciate the time. Great stuff, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for indulging my Golden Days story too. I appreciate it.
Love it.
It's all right. We love prep sports around here. That is Scott Eklund from dogman.com, part of the 24/7 network. Let's take a super quick break here before the end of the show. And then, Avery, I've got a blind ranking I would like you to do.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
You guys do this to me all the time. So now we're going to turn the tables on you. And now it's Avery's turn to do a little blind ranking.
Is it a topic that I could?
Yeah, you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Very little prep needed. You'll be okay. It's just personal preferences.
Okay.
So you'll be all right. I don't think we'll get you into any trouble here. So
okay.
That's Avery. I'm Ravi. We'll be right back. More Hurrdat Sports Live right after this.
On Champions League, he's amazing. He's probably the smartest football player I've ever played with. Him and probably Deshaun Singleton from last year. Owen's one of the best players I ever played with. He's so smart. He knows so much football. I learn from him. He learns from me. We bounce ideas off each other's head. and he wants it. Like a lot of times, especially in this era of football where you have NIL and things like that, there's not too many guys that really want it and really have a true hunger for it. That's one guy that has a true hunger for it and really works, and he has my utmost respect from that.
Are you feeling off, low energy, or asleep? At NextGen Male Medical, we not only evaluate your testosterone, but overall health. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Together, we'll get you back on your game.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Avarie. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. Don't forget, when our part of the show is over, we will have a Nebraska volleyball preview show as well with Anna Bellinghausen and Jacob Padilla. So make sure you stick around for that. I know for some of you that will be more popular than the Creighton basketball one yesterday, but I think it's for everybody. It's excited to hear Anna and Jacob talk about Nebraska volleyball as we get closer and closer to their season as well. That'll be good stuff there. So I did want to do, before the end of the show, I feel like this will help people get to know Avarie a little bit.
Okay.
We'll do a blind ranking, and the category is sporting events that you would like to attend as a fan, not a media member.
Okay.
That your team is not involved in.
Okay.
Right? So, like, obviously, if Nebraska's playing for a national championship in football, that's number one, whatever, right? Like, so we're taking that off the table.
Okay.
Your favorite teams are not involved.
Okay.
These are just, I have the opportunity to go to this event.
Okay.
I'm going to throw you a bone here first because I know you like soccer. Okay. A World Cup knockout stage game.
How many, like, am I putting
These
it on
are five.
put on a number scale?
Yeah.
Okay.
1 through 5. A World Cup knockout stage. So not the final, but not pool play, just like first or second round in the knock. So 32 or 16 in the knockouts.
last couple days of it overlapped with the College World Series. And that year we were supposed to be able to work the College World Series, but because of COVID, they only allowed like a couple media members per team. And so I just wanted to go enjoy the College World Series. And I was like, I have no interest in swimming. I don't care, whatever. That has single-handedly become one of my favorite events that I've ever been a part of because of the presentation and the way that you almost feel like you're at the Olympics. Like everyone that qualified, like got the Olympic performance. You get the podium, you get the anthem. I mean, just everything.
Yeah, they make it a big deal.
100%. I'd never been a part of that before. And it was like, everyone knows that I cry at every sporting event, but like I genuinely was, like a wreck. And they had a one-man swim trial. He was by himself. He had to beat a certain time in order to qualify. And as you can imagine, all of CHI is cheering for one guy in his own lane. And we're watching the bar. And that was incredible. So honestly, a part of me wants to say that like maybe going to an Olympic swimming event. But then again, there's so many others that I would also want to go to. The hardest thing here is if the U.S. women's soccer team was in an Olympic game.
Yeah.
But like, does that count as my team? I don't know. But you said any. So like.
Yeah, for Olympics, I mean, I'm not going to say you can't go to any U.S. events.
Yeah, like U.S. women's soccer game, absolutely. If it was like my prime, like 2010, it's probably like number 2 on the list.
I think I'd go. I love Olympic basketball. I think I'd go gold medal game.
Okay.
Olympic basketball gold medal. Or I will say, like the men's 100-meter final would be.
Yeah.
That would be elite.
Yeah, I think swimming is probably my answer, just based on what I experienced at a qualifying event. I can only imagine. But
I will say the one thing I prefer about swimming over some of the track events is they do last a little longer, so you have some like tension that builds up.
Yeah.
You know, I remember specifically, obviously, like the really famous like Michael Phelps races where like he's trying to get the 8 golds and you're not sure if he's going to win, but you have like a couple minutes for the whole thing to build up, and the intensity gets ratcheted up there pretty good. Where like in the men's 100 meters, it's like it's almost like for track, it's almost over before you even realize it. So the swimming events that's a good option, especially if it's like an elite event.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you got like a Katie Ledecky in there or somebody who is just scorching people.
Well, I was like also really spoiled because so my job during that was literally we were like running heat sheets. Me and Anna were like cutting pieces of paper. One of our SIDs at Omaha was like, "Hey, they're looking for help if you guys have any interest." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll have to be here anyway." And then as I was getting closer, I'm like, "I don't even know anything about swimming. I don't know what I'm doing here." It was such a like spoiled experience because where we got to sit because we had to go get the heat sheets and then give them to TV and whatever. I'm handing the heat sheets to Mike Tirico. Mind you, I can hear his booth is right here and I'm right here. So I'm hearing his call live, right? And then who's sitting next to him? Oh, Michael Phelps.
That's pretty cool.
Shoot. So I'm watching, like I'm an arm's length distance being like, I have no business sitting here. But it was like watching his reaction, watching like he's standing up, Mike Tirico, his call getting more intense. And then you go and watch Michael Phelps give hugs to all these guys that he's competed with, trained against, competed against. And so to watch that inner circle and inner web, and then, I mean, you get Mike Tirico in your ear. Like, you kidding me? So,
you know it's a big deal.
I mean, massive deal. So that experience, am I going to get that again? Maybe not, but I think the overwhelming just experience of an Olympic event to that magnitude would just be. However, I have to say, I have experienced not Game 7, but a Game 1 and a Game 3 of a World Series. And you cannot replicate the sound of a stadium.
Is that 2015?
2015 and 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. Went to Game 1 in 2014. Went to Game 2 or 3 in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't replicate the sound of a World Series. Like
Kansas City doesn't count, though. You don't get to do Kansas City.
I know that. That's fine. But I've had a small taste of it. But there's just like, there's literally nothing like the anticipation of every single pitch for 7, if it goes 7 games.
Yeah.
And then in this case, 7. I mean, like, you just
the
can't.
intensity is off the charts.
It is. And like for how long, it's kind of like on it. If you put the Stanley Cup in there somewhere, that probably would have, because of how long those series are. Like it takes everything to get to a Game 7 of a, you know.
I was going to ask if you had to add one to the list, what would it be?
Well, a Stanley Cup final series, even if it wasn't the final game, but like anything in that final stretch, that'd be, I went to last year. It was the series before the Stanley Cup started when Colorado was in it last year. I can't remember which game. Either way, that was my first playoff experience of college hockey, NHL hockey.
Sure.
And that was just
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was probably awesome.
Hockey live is like in person.
Yeah.
Hockey is
and
unbelievable.
Production level of hockey games
Yeah.
and like what they can do now with pregame and intermission on the ice and like what they can project and how they can make an arena feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like if I'm the family member in my family that if we're not at the game 15 minutes early, I'm pissed.
Oh yeah.
I want the intros. I want the video. I want the
whole
tunnel. I want
experience.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
My dad's like, we'll walk in after the first inning. I'm like, no. You don't understand. I want the pregame video. Like that's our world. So I get it. But
here's the vibes.
100%. Like
Yeah.
if you miss the tradition things and like, I don't want to go.
Yeah, that's a part of it.
I'm out. Unless it's a last minute decision. We're like, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
We'll be 20 minutes late. Okay, no big deal. No, if we have tickets,
Especially
to an
if
event,
it's like
we're
a
there.
championship, like if it's like a big deal playoffs, like
Yeah.
you gotta take the whole thing in.
Yeah. No. Every single person that ever like goes to a Nebraska football game or whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be, I'm like, you better be there 30 minutes before because you're not missing the production. Promise you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get in your spot.
Avery, thanks for filling in this morning for DB.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a good time. And I believe DB will be back tomorrow, as far as I know. We'll see. I don't know. Who knows what happens.
We're just in DB's world.
Yeah.
But if you want to come in tomorrow, I'll get the door for you again.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for the less shenanigans, peeps.
Shane, such a gentleman. Appreciate it. Avery, thanks for joining us. Appreciate everybody hanging in there through the technical difficulties today. Jacob and Anna coming up next with a little Nebraska volleyball preview show. I'm Ravi. That's Avery. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, I mean, I love him to death. Harper Bergen, Laney, and I, we have just become so close, and now we have year 4, most special relationship, and we've worked really hard on building that. So I'm just really grateful for them, and I wouldn't want to do it without them, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other class. You know, we've become so close, and we're like sisters now. So not that, you know, they've like literally been my sisters since the first day we stepped on campus. We all clicked right away. So I'm just really grateful that I get to do it with them.
Losing weight is harder than you expected. It's not just about willpower. At Next Gen Male Medical Clinic, we build a supervised plan around your body, not someone else's. Schedule a visit at nextgenmmc.com. Let's get you moving forward.
My first moment was here during spring practice. Out of nowhere, I remember I talked to him a few times, but obviously when you just got here, everybody seemed new to you. But we get in the huddle, obviously I'm listening to the play and everything, and he's going to look at me. I was like, you all right, man? I was like, yeah, I'm all right. And usually with a quarterback that's, worried about getting the call out and all that, he goes so quick, but he took the time to acknowledge if I was okay and make sure I was right. And from that point on, I knew he was a detailed guy and somebody that I could trust on, and that's something that I carry with me from the spring until now, and it shows up. So I'll say that.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
All right, welcome back to a special edition of Hurrdat Sports Live. We appreciate you guys hanging on with us. Anna Bellinghausen, Jacob Padilla here to preview some Nebraska volleyball. Jacob, first off, how are we doing today?
It's volleyball season, so have to be doing well, right?
Absolutely. Just wrapped up Big Ten Media Day in Chicago. Bergen Riley, Andy Jackson were there representing the Huskers. Of course, Danny Busman-Kelly there as well. You wrote a piece on that from what you heard from the press conferences. Jacob, what was your biggest takeaway from that?
Yeah, just that they're we good, Austin? Love live producing. Yeah, they are embracing the pressure, the target on their back. It's funny, Dave Shondell at Purdue just put it like, it's like, hey, Nebraska's the kingpin. They've got a target on their back, and it's going to be hard to hit. Like he's just flat out putting it out there, and Nebraska's like, yeah, I mean, Andy's like, we went 3 for 3. We want to go 4 for 4. That is our explicit goal, and we're going to do everything. We know what it takes. We know what that pressure feels like. We've been there before, and we're going to do everything we can to do it again. So that's outside of kind of the overall message from just everybody there is the gratitude for the platform and for the role that all of them play in continuing to push volleyball forward. I think that would probably be the overall takeaway from Big Ten Media Days. But yeah, Nebraska is ready for potentially this last run with the seniors, but we'll see if that's true.
Yeah, and I think what I appreciate most about Andy Jackson, Bergen Riley, is that they don't shy away from that pressure necessarily, right? They know that #1 preseason poll is going to be on their back. They know that they're picked #1 preseason in the Big Ten. So I do enjoy that they embrace that target on their back. They understand, they talk about it. It's not something that they necessarily avoid whatsoever. So I think embracing that, I mean, this is their fourth go round really with being that #1 preseason seed and knowing that you have that expectation to win the Big Ten and go far, go to the Final Four. So I think seeing the way that they've matured and just handle that pressure, I think really showed in that Big Ten Media Day.
And it was interesting, like listening to kind of the process and the way that Danny Busman-Kelly embraces the pressure, and they use it every day in practice, like the pressure to compete, to be their best, to make every rep count, because they know what happens if you don't. If you start to get complacent, it's going to jump up and bite you. So they try to embrace it and use it within what they do. But at the same time, the way Danny coaches, she tries to make sure that to avoid burnout, to make sure that it doesn't get too heavy on any of the players. Andy said she still makes every practice fun. Like they get their work done. They're not just messing around, but they're having fun while they do it. And that's ultimately, as a coach, what you want is for your players to feel that way, that when they show up to work every day, that they're excited for it, and they're not dreading what you're going to be doing that day. And then also kind of just, she talked about this in the past, though, but I mean, with a full year under her belt and getting to know more about the players and kind of build that connection, just kind of her collaborative style of coaching is where she makes everybody comfortable speaking up and offering suggestions and saying, hey, we need a break at this point. Like we've been going hard, like our bodies need a break here. And then she takes that, and the players understand, like, hey, we're giving you this, but you can't abuse this privilege. And she understands that. And from a coaching perspective, she blends what she knows the team needs from her experience as a longtime successful head coach with what the players are saying and the feedback they're giving her. Again, just now heading into year 2 where they know each other so well, it's just, I think, taking another step forward in that way. So it's kind of interesting just hearing how like they operate in this spotlight and with that pressure on their backs, and how they both use it and work to prevent it from, again, causing burnout.
Mm-hmm. And if you do listen to the Harper Murray interview that we just posted on Hill Varsity last week, I did straight up ask Harper, hey, was it a good or bad thing that you guys went undefeated last season? And she kind of saw it in both perspectives of good and bad, but at first her initial reaction was not good. Yeah. And it just makes you reflect back on what could have we done differently? Did we prepare correctly for every single opponent? And Danny talked at Big Ten Media Day about not having any regrets of last season and anything that she did or how she prepared. I mean, they went undefeated, right? Like, how do you look back and say you had any mistakes or regrets? But just when you show up that day in the Elite Eight and Texas A&M is just simply the better team, and albeit there's plenty of different excuses and different reasons that Nebraska wasn't their best that day in terms of injury, illness, and whatnot. Whether you want to look at that as a reason or excuse, you can debate that yourself. But I think what really stood out too was just knowing that you have to push yourself in that gym during practice, especially if you're going undefeated, because when you're winning, things can get swept under the rug. And maybe that's what was happening. I mean, yes, this team's incredibly talented, #1 team in the nation, so hard to nitpick things, especially when you're winning. It's just like, well, let's just continue what we're doing. And then you get to that point in postseason play, and it's a wild card. Anything can happen.
Yep, without a doubt. And so, I mean, they are the #1 team, unanimous in the Big Ten, rightfully so. You look at the all-conference team. There were 4 unanimous picks for the, 19-player team or whatever it ended up being, which is still ridiculous. That's more roster spots than college volleyball teams have total right now. They had 3 of the 4 unanimous, and obviously Andy Jackson, Bergen Riley, and Harper Murray, who are all on the AVCA Player of the Year watch list, rightfully so, all Americans last year. But the 4th would be Penn State's Kennedy Martin in her second year of the program, and now she's reuniting with her former Florida setter in Alexa Stuckey, who's there. So Penn State is up there. Purdue was well represented on the team as well. You look at the poll; it's Wisconsin 2, Penn State 3, Purdue 4, Minnesota 5. And you kind of look at so those are kind of the traditional powers in the conference. No surprises there. Minnesota, after getting healthy this season, should have a chance to put the. I mean, they did well enough last year considering all the injuries that they went through. Purdue, after losing the transfers that they did to reload and still have a great season, you just give credit to Dave Shondell there. Penn State, another one where the season kind of got derailed, but the talent is still incredible there. And then Wisconsin is Wisconsin, and they have to replace a lot, but they've got some really talented young players in the mix there as well. Plus Charlie Fearbringer at setter. So it is interesting though, looking at the next group. You have Indiana, who has been on a rise the last couple of years, had a great season last year, bringing quite a bit back at 6, and then USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Illinois. So you got the former Pac-12 group in the middle there, and then Chris Thomas, who just got an extension with Illinois, his team rounding out the top 10. So pretty strong top 10, I would say, with some traditional powers there. And then obviously we've got the schedule changing this year and all that, but that's kind of the layout for the Big Ten as we head into the season.
Yeah, let's talk. One of the biggest changes for this year for Big Ten volleyball is that inaugural Big Ten tournament that'll be November 20th to the 25th, and that's at Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana. So the top 15 finishers will go to that event. It's a single elimination tournament, and I think this could change things for a lot of the teams. We saw the SEC do it and have a lot of success, and from everything I heard at Big Ten Media Days, the reaction was really excited. Everyone between players and coaches seemed like they're ready to get all these teams together. They saw how well it went with the SEC, and they want to replicate that for the Big Ten. What are your thoughts on that tournament?
Yeah, we'll have a piece kind of rounding up thoughts from most of the coaches on the Big Ten tournament on the Hill Varsity page at hurrdatsports.com in a bit. But yeah, overwhelmingly positive. It is interesting kind of what this does for the schedule, where you throw out the double plays, it's 17 conference matches now. You just play everybody once, and that's it, because they had to clear out room at the back end of the schedule for the tournament. And the other thing, too, is about the tournament is it's early enough that you've got time after the Big Ten tournament, especially if you don't go all the way to before the NCAA tournament starts. And we saw kind of some coaches with different views on that. Kelly Sheffield was asked about scheduling another team in there, and he's like, "No, we're good." He's planning on making a deep run with his team, and at that point, you're playing however many matches in however many days. So he's like, "No, we're good." But Keegan Cook at Minnesota, he did go and schedule an extra match after the tournament, High Point, kind of one, so they don't have to worry about the rust factor of being off that long, and then also two, so his seniors can kind of get their senior send-off at home, truly at the end of the season like that before they head off to the tournament, the NCAA tournament. So it'll be fascinating to see kind of how the coaches view the schedule aspect of this moving forward. Because some of the players, coaches, that you do kind of the double play is good for some rivalry matches and some home and homes and stuff, but it also does up the pressure. You only see every team, especially some in the rivalry matches, you're going to get your rival once a year, and so all the pressure is on. You got to go get this game because you won't be able to see them again potentially until next year. So it's a lot of different things kind of going into it, but it does add some excitement, and it adds some kind of hope for teams at the end of the year that maybe some of those fringe NCAA tournament teams, teams that maybe haven't had a great year, maybe you can catch fire and make a run through the tournament like we see in the NCAA in basketball for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and back to your point on the break between the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, DBK did say at Media Day, hey, we do get that longer break, so I don't foresee Nebraska scheduling. We probably would know about that by now, too. So they will have a longer break, and to compare, it's going to be about 8 days or so, depending on if they play December 3rd or 4th, versus about 4 days between you have that weekend and then you play that following Thursday or Friday to start the NCAA tournament. So that's a huge difference, right? That's a huge difference to get those, get your team back home, rest up, and I think it'll be you can go back and forth on the rest versus rust conversation, but I think overall that's a great place to be for this team, especially when you factor in how much travel they're going to do throughout the entire year, and we'll talk about that later on too of their non-conference schedule. But they're going to be traveling quite a bit across the country throughout the entire year, so I think that at that point it could be a good thing for them to have a little bit more rest than they would in previous years.
Yeah, and especially if somebody were to just get some bad luck and get sick at the wrong time, now you got a little more time to recover.
That is true.
But yeah, big news that Big Fox will televise the championship match, so Big Ten again put on a pedestal, and that's potentially one of a few games for Nebraska this year that could end up on Fox.
Absolutely, you got Missouri against Missouri at Wrigley Field. That'll be on Fox. FS1 at DePaul, and that's at Wintrust Arena. And then BTN, you got plenty of games on the Big Ten Network. And I feel like that's one of the biggest complaints from fans is that when it's on BTN Plus, they might not have the streaming subscription. So more games for fans to watch on TV. And that's truly how you grow the sport. You have to be able to just stumble upon volleyball and learn the sport versus, it's a streaming service. You have to go specifically seek it out. But more fans can fall in love with it. It's an incredible sport for TV, in my opinion. I think it's the best to watch on TV in terms of how fast-paced it is. There's always a point scored every single play. So I think that'll be really exciting to see just more of a pedestal put on these games, and also just the investment level for the TV revenues is going to be huge, and just to get more eyes on the sport.
Yeah, in total, at least 15 of Nebraska's matches this season will be on the major television networks. Then you've got whatever else gets picked up throughout the year, whether Nebraska Public Media, whatever else. So, plenty of chances to see the Huskers and just Big Ten volleyball as a whole this year.
All right, well, let's go down to the position breakdown, starting with outside hitter. Jacob, how do you look at that group as a whole right now?
Yeah, this is kind of one of the more of the interesting ones here, just based on kind of what they lost and what they've got, because I think one of the biggest And Danny Busman-Kelly talked about it. I think one of the biggest questions surrounding this team is, what does Terea Sigler's role look like? And what is she ready to do? Is she ready to be the sixth rotation player that we frankly saw in the spring, and was certainly encouraging the way she played during their spring matches. Obviously, you've got Harper Murray back, 6 rotations, All-American, all Big Ten first team, all the accolades that she has, and she had best year of her career last year, over 3.5 kills on nearly 300 hitting, as the team's obviously go-to hitter, led the team in aces as well, and we know she's strong in the back row as well. If Terea Sigler can kind of mirror that, and then you've got 2 dynamic outsides, and we did hear from Danny specifically about Terea, and said, yeah, she expects her to be one of the players that takes a big leap, sees a much expanded role in 2026. So is that just going to be those two kind of holding down that spot, or is Skylar Pierce going to be able to make a push to steal some of those reps? We know Danny uses her bench, rotates her players in, so I'm sure we'll see Skylar at points this year, but has she made it big enough leap to where she can steal some of those reps and split time with Terea? But overall, you've got those two, and then you've got Gabby DeVita and Jaden Robinson, the freshman, coming in. Jaden's obviously got the flexibility to play either pin, so they've got plenty of depth there and exciting youth at that position, but kind of the Terea and Skylar is kind of the question mark there.
All right, moving on to setter, we of course know Bergen Riley, that starting setter, and then you have to throw in Campbell Flynn too when you think about how this new ruling with the age-based model for the NCAA kind of affects her. And we did hear DBK say that she would have redshirted her, which I think is an interesting point to make.
Yeah, we talked about in the spring, like, is that a potential path for them? And it made some sense if they could find a way to get by, but that's out the door now, so you don't have to worry about that. So the question is, how does Danny utilize? We saw a little bit last year. Campbell did start one match. She played in 18, split a little bit of time with Bergen. Bergen played in every match, but came off the bench for that one and played a role there. But yeah, I mean, you've got the ABCA, you got the Big Ten setter of the year, the Big Ten player of the year, first teamers setter of the year. Like, you probably want her on the court as much as you can in all the games that matter, but they do have the flexibility of the double sub situationally to get Campbell some reps there as well to match up for if you need to get a bigger block up front. So they do have some of that. We're not going to see a 6-2 outside of the kind of the brief experimentation potentially that we did see. So don't expect that, but I think we will see a little bit of Campbell throughout. And kind of the fascinating thing moving forward now is, how do coaches manage rosters like this? And because Campbell was someone who came in understanding that, hey, I'm going to have 2 years where I sit behind the best setter in the country, and then it'll be my turn. Now that is kind of that's a question mark. Is Bergen going to come back for another year? And if so, what does that mean for Campbell? But for the meantime, nothing's going to change this season. I would imagine she'll be ready for any rep she gets.
Yeah. Moving on to middle blocker, one of the best things I heard at Big Ten Media Day, Andy Jackson saying that she's made significant improvements over the offseason. And when you hear that about a player like Andy Jackson, you're like, oh, yeah, you can improve too, okay. And I think in speaking with Jalen Reyes about Andy specifically is that you have to understand that Andy didn't start playing volleyball until she was like 13 or 14 years old. So what she's done to make herself into the middle blocker of the year is incredible. So her ceiling is even higher than what we see right now. So it's kind of scary when you hear that from her, especially like how humble she is, that she's made significant improvements to her blocking and her serve over the offseason.
Well, and obviously the last time we saw her was not arguably the worst match that she's played. And so you've got that kind of driving her throughout the offseason. Understand, like, I'm not going to be in that position again where the coach has to consider benching me. Like, she's got to go out and be able to perform at her highest level on the biggest stage, which we've seen her do throughout her career as well. But yeah, racking in the awards last year, the kind of the blocking game is the one big kind of hole in her game. She is such a phenomenal athlete. Like, again, on pace to break Nebraska's career hitting percentage record. She, I mean, what, 467 last year? Just phenomenal season. One of the most efficient players in the country. So now, if her defense can kind of rise up to rival what she does on offense, then we're talking about like future USA volleyball centerpiece on that team. So that is kind of the focus for her, is shoring up that defense, shoring up that blocking, so that teams can't kind of pick on her at all.
Another, I think, point about the middle blocker group that'll be interesting this year is Manaya Obeche and Kenna Kogel, which I feel like people just automatically assume Manaya would be that second middle blocker, but I think you really have to take a good look at Kenna Kogel, what she did in the spring, and maybe they're closer than we thought.
Yeah, she played really well in the spring. I was really impressed, and obviously we did not get to see her at all last year past the August exhibitions. So weren't really familiar with her game, but she went out and she was really productive, really efficient with her opportunities in the spring, and obviously with Rebecca Alec moving on, there's a hole in the lineup there. It'll be interesting to see kind of how much we saw Rebecca get some kind of rest matches and some matches off. That was one way that even John Cook did the same thing, kind of towards the end there, where obviously Rebecca, the veteran, like, she doesn't necessarily need to play back-to-backs every time. Like, that's someone that understands, like, yeah, go ahead, let the young player go this rep. I'll rest up and get ready for the next one. Does that happen when you've got basically two young players that are kind of fighting for every opportunity they can get? So that dynamic will be interesting. Doesn't seem like Andy's the one that you would need to rest, or that would want to rest, although it could go that route. But yeah, I think Keani Williams is talented, coming in, top 10 recruit in the country as well, adding further depth to that group. But it does seem like it'll likely come down to Manaya and Kent. Manaya was so efficient, hit 529 last year, 2.3 kills per set, 1.11 blocks per set. She was really productive in all the opportunities that she got. And then we saw Danny turn to her in the NCAA tournament. And it was kind of a mixed bag there, but I'm sure that experience will only help her moving into her sophomore year. So I think that's one of the biggest. I talked about Sky and Torea, and I think that other middle blocker spot is kind of one of the other kind of outstanding competitions that we'll see in this.
One thing that will be fun this year with the 5-for-5 rule is that you don't have to worry about burning anyone's red shirt. So you can experiment. Yeah. You can throw different players in different positions and just see how they react. And I think Danny will appreciate that too, because, I mean, we saw it last year, even throwing Campbell in at points too, where Bergen obviously could very well set that game or that set or that match. So I think that might be fun to see progress throughout the year of, yeah, she can use her bench with zero repercussions.
Yeah, no doubt. And that'll, as we move into the new phase with everything surrounding college volleyball now, seeing how coaches manage their rosters, seeing how coaches manage their schedules, I'll be fascinated to see kind of the approach that Danny takes and how that compares to other coaches in the Big Ten and around the country. But there's no doubt that she's got a lot of options on this team.
Opposite hitter, I feel like a player that people aren't talking about enough this offseason has been Virginia Adriano, and what she can do in her second season at Nebraska. Just having that year under her belt, moving to an entire different country across the world, getting settled in Nebraska, and having, you know, those different expectations set of what volleyball is like in Italy versus in the United States. So I think that's a player I would also expect to see a big leap from this year. But then, of course, you have redshirt freshman Ryan Hunter, who we saw those glimpses of in those spring matches that excited everybody versus Kansas. And then now you look at the season of, okay, what does that dynamic look like between opposite hitter of Virginia and Ryan?
Yeah. And obviously Ryan further removed from the injury that ended her high school career. So you feel like she'll be more confident, feel better about herself, about her legs, her athleticism, to go make plays there. So yeah, it's Virginia's going to get pushed. And we saw last year kind of, again, that's another one where Danny's not afraid to go to the bench when the starter was struggling. And so you'll have that pressure there, just like at every position on this team. That's the benefit of having this kind of depth, is just the natural competition level getting raised within practice, because everybody wants to hold on to their spot or wants to go earn it. But yeah, I think Virginia certainly is poised for a big lead based on what we saw in the spring. Another player who just played really well, took advantage of her opportunities. Obviously, she was sick at the end. We didn't get to see her finish out the spring strong, but we had seen plenty by that point. So, yeah, I'm 2.16 kills per set on 287 hitting for someone who was kind of figuring it out throughout the season. And again, her second half versus her first half last year, big difference. So I would expect her to make a big leap as well and kind of hold down that spot, but not surprised at all if we see Ryan Hunter at different stretches. I know Virginia's talked about kind of the confidence aspect of it and how she struggles with that at times. And if things don't go well, how she can kind of pile on herself and get down on herself. And so I think continuing to battle that and evolve there will help her in the long run. But it is important to note that her eligibility has not changed with any of the ruling. She came in as a 21-year-old freshman, so she was considered a freshman, but it was granted 3 years, and under the new rules, that would still only be 3 years because of her age. So this is her second year. She'll have one more next year, and that's it as far as eligibility goes, but that doesn't matter right now. She's ready to go.
All right, well, the last position group, DS and Libero, might be the same story as we've had the last season. Lainey Choboy, Olivia Mauk, and Carrie Leinbach. It'll be interesting to see how Danny maneuvers this year. What kind of insight do you have towards that position group and what you've seen?
Yeah, no, I don't know what could have changed at this point between those two. Danny talked about how she kind of makes her decision based on what the team needs, personality standpoint, kind of how the individual player complements what they've got going on out there. And I don't think Lainey or Olivia changed who they are at all in the offseason. I think we know their personalities and kind of their styles, and it's just a matter of Danny deciding who gives them the most of what they need. And I think both are certainly capable, and we'll see both again this year. That will be fascinating, just kind of where they slot in the lineup there, where the opportunities for Carrie Leinbach are. Obviously, Maisie Boziger moving on. Carrie just slides right in that after redshirting last year. But how Danny uses her DSs, considering kind of what she's got elsewhere on the roster, how the pieces all come together. But she's got plenty of options there to keep their defense strong.
All right, well, lastly, to round off this preview, we're going to talk non-conference slate. And Nebraska volleyball is basically going on a tour across the nation. Yeah. And we know the Bob's being renovated. They're just getting back in there to practice. So they took a lot of time to make that tour across different stadiums, which is going to be so cool. We'll start with August 27th. You got the Spike Under the Lights. That's AT&T Stadium in Dallas. So they will play Florida first in that semifinal, and then it's Penn State or SMU, and they basically play 3 sets each. I don't know if they do best of 3 or
best of 3.
It's best of 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's like a high school triangular, like a little tournament basically. So,
but with money on the line.
Correct. Yes, quite a bit of money, and that, of course, that's an exhibition. That's right before the actual season starts.
Yes.
So kind of first of its kind, and of course they would want Nebraska involved to put a spotlight on this event and to get people invested and interested in it. But yeah, it's kind of a really exciting, unique. I don't think we've really seen something like this in college volleyball.
And I think it would be nice for Nebraska to get that Penn State matchup just to see early on and have a feel for what that Penn State team's going to be this year. That's one of my big question marks of the year, is how Penn State rebounds from last year and what they look like, what Kennedy Martin looks like. I think that'll be really interesting. So hopefully they get that matchup in the final.
Yeah. We talked about just playing everybody once, that this is the only way outside of Big Ten tournament runs is playing twice is to get events like this. But SMU, I mean, with what they've invested into their volleyball program, they're a serious player as well. So as long as Nebraska takes care of business in that first round, you're going to get a strong opponent no matter what. And that's kind of what you want in an event like this. Doesn't count towards your resume. Just go play the best teams you can to get yourself ready for the season.
Yeah, August 29th through the 30th, so just 2 days after they play potentially
1 day
6
off
sets.
and then head straight out to Vegas.
Yes, they head out to Vegas to play UNLV, and then the well-awaited one versus Texas will be the first time they've matched up since that 2023 national championship. Very different team, obviously, for Texas. We don't see any of those players in college volleyball. I don't know if a single one on their roster is still playing at this point, but yeah.
Setter.
The setter. Okay. So there's one. But yeah, I think that'll be another great experience. That's the home of the Golden Knights and the new PWHL team there in Vegas. So excited to see them on another platform there, and really interested to see the attendance wise too of how many people come out to that event. I mean, of course, Nebraska fans will show up, but I hope there's a lot more interest there in Vegas that shows up and sees some incredible volleyball, because that Nebraska-Texas matchup is going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, no doubt with the kind of the centerpiece of the non-conference slate, and you get it in the first couple of days of the season as well. So, be interesting to see kind of how ready those teams are for that competition.
Do you think that's a good thing that Nebraska starts off that hot with non-conference play versus having a couple teams before that?
Yeah, I think with the continuity that they have, like they're uniquely equipped to take on a schedule like this where you don't necessarily need those kind of warm-up matches. And then also you do get the spikes under the lights where obviously you're going to play to win. There's a lot on the line there, and you're going to play your best players. It's not an exhibition in the traditional sense, but it doesn't count to your resume. Like, you can go out there and get done what you need to get done, and hopefully win along the way. But I think that is the benefit of that, is getting those matches under your belt before you go out to Vegas and things start for real.
All right, then September 2nd at SDSU up in Brookings, South Dakota. SDSU, usually a powerhouse in that Summit League too, so a great opponent they'll still be facing. And you also have to factor in that travel of going up to SDSU, and then 2 days later you flip around and you go to Chicago. You play DePaul at Wintrust Arena, home of the Chicago Sky, another professional arena that Nebraska is playing in. And then you got September 6th, Big Ten SEC Challenge, and they face off Missouri. Wrigley Field, that one will be really exciting.
Yeah, so they are playing in a professional football stadium, a professional hockey arena, a professional basketball arena, and a professional baseball park. So they're just kind of hitting all the bases there, just playing at big-time arenas all across the country. So, I mean, the welcome to the show was kind of the tagline they put out in their after their media day, and Andy Jackson herself said on the Big Ten Network that the approach they take is they want to give fans a show every single time they step on the court. And they are certainly taking the show on the road here and giving a lot of people chances to see them that otherwise never would have.
Yeah, I think this might be the biggest turning point in terms of volleyball for the popularity of the sport. If there's a year that people are going to latch on and come across volleyball because they're playing at such big arenas on big networks, I think this is a year for that. So I think it's just such a crucial year for the sport in terms of the eyes, the sponsorships, the money behind it, the players in it. And also when you factor in that these players can also come back for another year, it's just going to raise that level of talent. So you can follow these players and understand, like, hey, I can follow them for a whole nother year here. And they can also play professionally in the U.S. Those leagues are starting to really get everything figured out in terms of what their format is and their players, their coaches, and all that stuff. So it's exciting to see that professional game also grow in the U.S. And then, of course, college, where, you know, it really does start with that popularity. And Nebraska is, of course, a huge part of that. And I think just what that senior class at Nebraska has done for the sport just, like, cannot be talked about enough. From the stadium match back in 2023 to right now, of just how they've crossed the line between sport and pop culture. I mean, look at what Harper Murray's done this offseason. She's been at the ESPYs. She was a stadium match captain at the World Cup. She went to the Super Bowl. She's just honestly a nationwide celebrity at this point. And it's incredible just to see that a volleyball player is being recognized across the country at national events, because that probably wouldn't happen when you think back 5-6 years ago.
And that is just the first 11 days of the season. They finally return or make their home debut at the renovated Devaney Center at September 10th for the Emeritus Players Challenge. That's the first time fans will be able to see them at home. And obviously the John Cook Arena specifically will look quite a bit different. The benches are gone, the seat backs down there, they kind of renovated the standing room only, put seats up there. So now capacity is going to be over 10,000, all with seats. They're going to be different kind of luxury areas as well for fans to enjoy. So it's going to look a little bit different when Nebraska finally gets back in there. As part of the reseat, they're also consolidating the student section and putting them behind one of the benches as opposed to kind of the four corners where they have been previously. I know the players are excited about that, and Bergen was talking about that. Big Ten Media is just kind of having them all together so they can really build off each other. You can actually get that real kind of home court advantage of having a student section like we've seen a lot of other places. Like there's some places that have the student section like right on top of Nebraska's team, and you hear some crazy things there. And so now Nebraska will be able to kind of replicate that as well at home for a few of the sets, putting them behind one of the benches. So look a little different when Nebraska finally gets there, but I think the fans or the players and Danny Busman Kelly are both excited about what it's going to look like. And they have New Mexico, Baylor, and Georgia Tech here for that first tournament, and then they head to PBA to take on Creighton. So obviously we saw how well things did at the PBA last year for the First Serve Showcase or whatever. They changed the name so many times.
AVCA Showcase,
yeah, First Serve, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then they ran out the non-conference back at the Devaney Center with the Husker Invitational against North Carolina and Florida Gulf Coast. So look at the non-conference. There's a lot packed in there. Obviously, they're going to be on the road for a while to start the season, but then fans will get to see what the new Devaney Center looks like in mid-September.
All right, very excited. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for sticking on with us. Anna Bellinghausen, Jacob Padilla, we'll talk to you guys next time.